All right, then let's get rolling. So, today we're just going to go over pretty much PBS 101. What is PBS? How does it work? And the basics of how do we enter a bid. Just to be clear, this class is not able to make everyone an expert on how to be a proficient bidder. That's what the mock bidding process is going to be used for. We'll get you there. We'll get you to the basics of how to enter a bid and what a good bid should look like, but the how to be the artful work of bidding, that'll take some trial and error in your own time. We've got a lot of reference documents that will show you throughout this presentation of where you can go to learn more about when to or where to learn things to bid. So the first 2 hours or so of the class is really just going to be the PowerPoint presentation. It's getting into the system and learning the basics. The second half of the class is really getting you all into the bidder interface and working kind of individually with everyone to set up a bid and the basics of how to bid that way. We'll get 2 or 3 more PBS instructors will join us around that time, and we'll break up into small groups and work on that. You can kind of see the rough timeline today. Officially, bidder interface is an hour. We're trying to stretch that closer to 90 minutes to 2 hours because we're finding that's the most useful time. So we're kind of going to rush through some of the things that we've decided maybe not as important to spend 20 or 30 minutes on as we previously thought. Without further ado, what is PBS? PBS is a preferential bidding system. It's used to build your schedule. All it is a new way, instead of line bidding, a way for pairings to appear on your schedule. Instead of bidding for a line, you're bidding for specific pairings or attributes of things that you like or dislike in pairings to be put on your line. Once your initial line has been built, everything else remains the same. We still have a line improvement period done via email. We still have eCrew open time that'll open up after line improvement period finishes. None of that's going to change. The big thing here is in PBS, all of our known activities, our known absences, our vacation, carry-in trips, all of that's known to the system and on your schedule before it starts applying pairings to your schedule. So there's no more conflict bidding of any kind under PBS. The system is smart enough to eliminate conflicts. That's fundamentally the reason why airlines like PBS. Pilots, pros and cons to the system. The big con, like we talked about just now, is we're going to lose conflict bidding. The big pro is you get to have a much more customizability in building your own schedule. So let's talk about what the timeline changes like. Oh, actually, one thing first. This is just a quick example of what a PBS award will look like when it gets emailed to everyone out. In this example, everything that's that teal turquoise color is something that the system assigned you. Everything's that the gray color is something that was previously on your schedule. Like line 1, we can see the pilot had an MV and an LOE. The system had to build around that. Line 2 there, it had the Lakeland Pit carry-in. Line 3, we had another MV LOE. Line 4 down there, we had some vacation that the system had to build around. The whole bid timeline is going to change drastically. Let's assume for the next few slides, we're bidding for the month of September. Currently, as everyone I assume knows, we bid for September and August. Specifically, bidding opens on the 16th, closes on the 22nd. Revised schedule comes out on the 22nd. Final schedule comes out on the 26th. The bidding timeline is going to move up drastically. So now in September, going back 2 months, if we're bidding for September, and the end of July, we're going to enter a new thing called the vacation adjustment period. What does that mean? Well, instead of placing vacation on your schedule during bidding, you're going to place it just over a month before bidding starts on your schedule ahead of time. Starting next year, we'll be bidding for weeks of vacation instead of periods. So 52 weeks of vacation starting on a Monday. And during the vacation slide period, you can adjust your vacation plus minus 3 days to fine tune exactly where you want your vacation to start. So that when the bidding opens up in PBS, you've previously placed your vacation exactly where you wanted, plus minus 3 days from the start of your period. Along with your vacation, you get up to 2 guaranteed days off. That's just like an off G day on a reserve or a relief line where the company can't assign you work. You can put one at the start of your vacation, one at the end of your vacation, 2 at the start and none at the end, or 2 at the end, however you so choose to use it, or you can use none of them. They're just some of your contractually guaranteed off days, but it's guaranteeing you that some of your contractually guaranteed off days will touch your vacation so that your vacation will be at least 9 days with a normal week of vacation. In periods in the same month, you can use 4 off G days. You can attach them all to one period. Mix them up however you want. If you have more than 2 weeks of vacation, you still only get a maximum of 4 off-G days touching your vacation. There's a lot more nuances to vacation bidding, but I highly encourage everyone to read the PBS LOA for topics such as VRDs or Diamond Days, new things that we don't discuss here, but very important to learn at some point. So then getting into, again, bidding for September. So August now. First 3 days of the month of August, we bid for training. No changes to how that works. It's still grace early, grace late. Still get your golden days. Nothing really changes except it's going to be in PBS. There's a training module in there. I'm not quite clear if that will go live with our go live date of PBS or if that'll be delayed a month or two. There's still some technical issues going on right there. But the first 3 days of the month, we bid for training. And by the 4th of the month, you know what your training is going to be. So then on the 8th of the month, we finally start bidding. Just want to emphasize, we're now bidding on the 8th instead of the 16th. So it moves up drastically. So bidding opens on the 8th, closes on the 12th. Captains, probably get your schedule on the 12th. PBS, unlike line bidding, requires that trips instead of actual lines are withheld from FOs for IOE purposes. So it requires captain's award to be done first, and then training goes through and picks out the trips that they want to use for IOE. So FO awards will always take a little bit longer than captain awards. But as a captain, by the afternoon of the 12th, it's very likely that you will have your schedule, and unless something drastically changes, that's probably your final schedule. So that's a huge improvement from a quality of life standpoint right there, which is great to have our schedule sooner. FOs will have it as quickly as we can get it, but no later than the 16th at 1800 will everyone have their initial schedule. Once everyone has their initial schedule, we move into what's called the bid resolution period. Essentially, this is to see if there was an error on what you got. Were you given something in error? If so, you've got 3 days to call in Darden, and we resolve that issue. Unlike right now, where it's just kind of a no man's land if there's a miss award on bidding and we have to figure out every month what to do with the company. Under PBS, if you read the PBS LOA, there's a whole long paragraph that talks about specifically, depending on what the miss award is, depending on how many people are affected, exactly what happens to make the pilot whole, which is nice that everyone can just go in and read. Miss awards are never going to be the system screwed up. There's something like 50,000 crew members bidding on PBS every month in the United States, or on NavBlue PBS every month in the United States. It's a well-refined system that works quite well. But what can happen is the administrator, so crew planning, incorrectly entering someone's vacation, incorrectly entering an office day, incorrectly entering any kind of planned activity, that creates all kinds of a cascade that affects a bunch of people. But unless you specifically have a miss award, your schedule is not going to change from the 12th. If there is some sort of a miss award, the only thing that's going to change from your schedule from the 12th to the 18th, realistically, is pulled in paper ticket from something. You're not going to get new flying put on your schedule. So all of that is a nice to say that by the 12th, you generally know what your off days are going to be. The day after the miss award period closes, line improvement period will open up. Still going to be the exact same blip. Crew scheduling sends out an email. You get to deal with Coley. They are working on an automated system in eCrew to take over that eventually. I've seen the beta test for that. It's promising. It's not there yet. So let's take a moment here. Who's got questions about the timeline? Quiet group this morning. That's all right. You get it. All right, then moving along. We're going to go into a couple of definitions here. All of these are building up to one specific definition that I need everyone to kind of understand going forward, but truly, if you don't grasp all of this fully, it's not critical. An average line value is the total credit divided by the total number of bidders. Using simple non-contractual math, if there's 10,000 hours of credit in a month, and we expect there to be 100 line holders, everyone's going to have an average line value of about 100. 10,000 divided by 100. Not quite accurate for how our airline works, but just getting the concept out there. It's the total number of credit out there divided by the total number of pilots flying the credit that hold actual lines, not reserve lines. A historic line value, I like to think of that as the average line value. It's just what has the average line line value been in this airline for the past 12 months? Well, 11 months, including the current month. So why is that important? Right now, the company can build our schedules anywhere from 70 to 95. Under PBS, this is going to change a little bit. They publish an average line value at the beginning of the month, and the average line value must fall within this range of 72 hours to 88 hours. So we can't have an average line value less than 72, which protects us from economic turndowns. And we can't have an average line value above 88 hours, which again protects you from, being worked to death. Inside of that, however, is an even tighter historic line value. Think of that as the governor, and that's between 74 to 86 hours. That's to say that the airline can't just run us at 88, 88, 88, 88 all the time, or 72, 72, 72 all the time. It forces that if you're going to run on the extreme ends of the ALV, eventually you have to pull yourself back in. Kind of an example of that would look something like this. Here's a bunch of numbers. I'm not going to read them all to you, but let's assume that the company has had all of those ALVs that are in the top left corner over the past year. In the coming month, they want to publish an average line value of 85.34. That's within our valid range of 72.88. But when we plug that into all of the math, take the average of all that, we find that it creates an average line value, a historic line value of 86.05, which is outside of our max of 86. So in that case, the company would need to recalculate the ALV underneath that. So in that case, they'd have to re-pull their ALV down to get it back within the HLV range. If they were at 86.05, if we wanted to do the math, we'd find that they'd have to revise the average line value from their wanted 85.34 to 84.37 to get us under an HLV of 86. There's a couple of ways you can do that, and we'll talk about that in just a second, but some more definitions we need to go through first, and that are credit windows. If we assume that this month we're publishing an average line value of 83 hours, every pilot's schedule will be plus minus 7 hours from the published ALV. So an ALV, average line value of 83 hours, means every pilot's schedule will be between 76 to 90, plus minus 7. Unless, if your seniority can hold it, you decide that you'd like to be in what's called either the maximum or the minimum credit windows. You'd either like to work a whole lot more or a whole lot less. If you bid to enter into the maximum credit window, then your schedule can be anyone from the ALV plus 14 hours. So in this example, anywhere from 83 to 97. Or you could bid to go into the minimum credit window, in which case your average line value would go from 83 all the way down to 70, I believe, if my math is correct. Actually, it'd be 69, but we have a cap of 69.30 that you'll never go below when your line is published. If you were to be given a line award of 69.30, just like today, you'd still be pay protected for 70 hours, so no major changes there. All right, and this is the important concept that we're going to hit on for a moment here that we've been building to. Inside of each of these credit windows is something called the threshold. The threshold is what the administrator, which will be ALPA, sets that says this is the credit number that PBS needs to put on your schedule in order to stop adding trips to your line. For argument's sake, we've just set the credit windows in the middle of all the thresholds on this one. So if we say the ALV was 83, and just for an example, we're saying the threshold is also set to 83. That means once the system sees that you have 83 hours of credit on your schedule, it'll stop adding things to your line. The goal is always to have that probably on the lower side so that it stops sooner. But depending on what's best for quality of life for everyone, there's a bunch of reasons to move thresholds around. You can see this example, we've got the credit threshold set for 83 in the normal range, 73 in the min credit, and 94 in the max credit. So if you were to bid into one of those credit windows, that's the number that PBS would have to achieve in order to stop added flying to your schedule. By tinkering with all of these things, we have the ability to change the ALV a little bit once we start running. If we're projecting an ALV of 83 when ALPA is done running the system, we have to be plus minus 1 hour from what the company wanted the ALV to be. So if the company was asking for an average line value of 83 hours in this example, ALPA could come up with a solution anywhere between 82 to 84 hours. The ways you adjust that ending ALV, we could limit the amount of people within the credit windows, the min and max. You could adjust what the thresholds are in the normal credit window, the min credit window, and the max credit window, and those will be adjusted all the time, which unfortunately means that we as pilots don't know what those thresholds will be because they're moving targets. Depending on what's best for quality of life for the whole pilot group, ALPA's moving the thresholds every run they do and could end up running the system hundreds of times with different thresholds and different number of bidders in the min-max credit window, just trying to give everyone the best schedule that they could. The other thing you can do is limit the number of pilots that are awarded what's called the reduced lower limit line. A reduced lower limit line is simply the junior pilot who's bidding somewhere around 200 on the respective seniority list, or respective seat, I should say. That's right on that cusp of either getting pairings or reserve, and the system's like, yeah, the threshold is set for 85 hours and there's only like 60 hours of flying left or 70 hours of flying left. The pilot can elect to say, I'm willing to take a reduced line value, a reduced lower limit line, in order to be a line holder. This is only accessible to the pilot that is right on the cusp of that, and it's run out of flying before it's got to this pilot. If you're too senior that you are always going to be a line holder, there is no way to trick the system to put yourself into the RLL world. So if you are bidding more than probably 70% in your respective seat, you will never be an RLL holder. This is only for very junior pilots right on the cusp of being a line holder or reservist. If you do accept the reduced lower limit line, you are not pay protected. You're just taking whatever value it gets you, not to be lower than 60, saying that I'm willing to be not pay protected and have a bunch of days off and have a low credit value in order to not be on reserve, knowing that I need to claw myself back up to 70 hours just to even get premium pay again. And that's the PBS intro, the timeline and list. Let's take a moment here. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to raise hands and we can call on you. No questions? All right. Well, I've been teaching a lot of these and my voice is shot, so I'm going to take 30 seconds to drink some hot tea here and see if anyone else has a question. Otherwise, we'll move on. All right, before I move on, just to make sure I haven't lost everyone, can someone toss a raise hand emoji or laughter or something just to make sure we're all here or somebody's here and can hear me?
You got 2 questions in the comment section.
Oh, I'm not reading the comment section. What do they say? Let's see here. All right, Tom Fisher, you downloaded the link. It won't recognize your pilot employee number. We'll get there in a second. We'll figure that out when we get into the system, Tom. If not, I can force that to open up for you, so that shouldn't be a problem. Nick Smith says, can they manipulate the ALV with the number of reserves that they assigned? Indirectly. The difference is going to be the number of reserves impacting the ALV determines the number of reserves, if that makes sense. Changing how many pilots are going to be within the min-max credit window and changing the threshold will determine what the ALV is going to be, and determining what the ALV is going to determine how many reserves they actually get. Yep, Rob, we have some planned breaks, usually right around the hour mark. So we go for about an hour, take a break, go for another hour, take a break. Thanks for pointing out the questions. If anyone else sees questions, can someone like raise hand, give an emoji there? Because I'm not looking at that questions page, so I'm never going to see it. All right. So moving into some concepts. This is kind of an example of what the bidder interface looks like. Good news, you don't have to type this out. This is all just buttons that you click to make these bid commands appear. The system has a maximum of 200 bid lines is what they call it. I don't like saying bid lines because pilots are used to thinking of a bid line as what we think of right now in line bidding. So instead of bid lines, you can think of this as bid entries, bid commands, bid preferences, but you get 200 lines worth of bidding. The average bidder uses something like 20 to 30. The max Snavlu has ever seen is like 185, they said. I've been super pedantic with my bid, just playing with this and teaching this for the past 6 months, and I think I'm up to like 150, and it's really just a ridiculous bid on my part that I'm not sure is going to actually get me anything better than like 30 lines anyways. But anyways, you get 200 lines. Bid lines are divided into what are called bid groups. You can see number line 1 there says you're entering a bid group, and line 9 there says we're starting a next bid group. Think of bid groups as bidding strategies. All of your awards comes from a single bid group. If anyone in here is from SkyWest, I know you're used to working in layers. Layers and bid groups are very, very different. Every class I've done, I've had somebody from SkyWest or Compass try to compare a bid group to a bid layer, and I promise you that it'll only confuse yourself more. Try to dump that analogy if that's in your mind. All of your flying will come from a single bid strategy or a single bid group. There are commands to tell PBS that your bid strategy has failed. Move me on to my next bid group. But otherwise, all of your commands come from a single bid group. There's a maximum of 200 lines. And yeah, again, your entire schedule is going to come from one bid group. We'll talk all about what this means in detail over the next little bit here. The system has what we call top-down processing logic. It means it simply reads line 1, does the action, moves on to line 2. It does not read ahead and read your whole schedule or read your whole all of your bid commands to know what you're trying to accomplish. It simply reads the line, does the line. Once it reaches the threshold by an action that you gave it in a line, it is done and doesn't read ahead. If you had something you wanted further down, it's important to you to note, don't do that. Prioritize everything from most important to least important, because once the system reaches the threshold, it stops reading. I know that's still a little confusing topic that everyone's probably scratching their head and going, wait, what does that mean? And trust me, we're going to get through all of this as we go on. So you notice all of these bids on the screen are color coded. Those colors are very important. The one concept we're going to keep going back to over and over and over here is your green colors, which are called your awards, are always at the bottom. We'll talk about why that is later, but just keep that on the back of your mind. If you see any color below a green within a bid group, you've made a mistake. But what are these colors? Your light blues are both your waves and your set conditions. That yellow color is called a prefer off command. The orange color is called an avoid command. And the green is your award. Let's talk about what all of those mean. The light blues, the waves, and the set conditions. First, let's talk about waves. Wave preference. It tells PBS you want to disregard certain contractual rules while processing your bid. As a line holder, there's only 3 wave commands. You can wave the contractually required 1 and 7 off. You would still need 30 and 168 FDP. That's a FAR. Important to note, I thought it should be self-explanatory, but we can waive contractual requirements, not FARs. Obviously can never waive an FAR. So you could waive the 1 and 7 off to give yourself more working days in a row. Try to build an old school long trip of putting a couple of 5 days together if you wanted, so long as you had 30 and 168 to rest somewhere in there. You get all of your flying front loaded or back loaded in the month. Or you could waive rest before or after training. If you're junior and you're trying to maximize your chance of getting a line, waves. If you're senior and you have something very specific you're going for, waves might work again. It's all about what you're trying to accomplish. Set condition is pretty much saying to PBS, once you start building my line, this is the way I want you to do it. They're global rules that you're asking the system to follow. My favorite set condition here, if you look at that list, is the third one down called pattern. That's saying I want to work between 3 to 5 days in a row, and I want at least 4 days off between every work block. I'm setting that pattern of work cadence that I like. I don't want just scattered day on, day off. You could ask for max days on in a row, max days off in a row, consecutive days off in a row. This is where you choose to say, I want to be in the maximum credit window or the minimum credit window. These are just global rules that you're telling the system, once we start processing my bid, here is how I would like you to process it. Then the negative bids, those are your prefer offs and your avoids. Fundamentally, they work the same way. They simply tell the system what kind of flying you don't want to do. There's at the time we wrote this PowerPoint, there were 38 negative bids. I think we're up to 43 right now. This system is being used by many airlines, and it's being used by both pilots and flight attendants. And every time a new labor group that uses it, which is Delta pilots and flight attendants, JetBlue pilots and flight attendants, Spirit pilots and flight attendants, Frontier pilots and flight attendants, I can't remember who else. Delta, United, Spirit, JetBlue, Frontier, and I'm blanking on 2 other big ones. But there's a big groups of huge labor groups that are using this system. Every time somebody negotiates a new contract and gets a new work rule that requires a specific button, it gets pushed to everyone's system. So we get new bid features all the time, which is kind of cool. Contractually, nothing can be withheld from us. But anyways, I digress. There's a lot of avoid and prefer off preferences. You can prefer off days of the week. You can avoid types of flying you don't want. and they just remove the kind of flying the system that can give you from what we call your pool of pairings. Imagine you've got the swimming pool and it's filled with every single trip that the airline has in it, just floating around in there. When the system's going to award you trips, it's going to have to take from that swimming pool. But before it takes from that swimming pool is when you put your avoids and your prefer off commands and you lower the amount of trips in that swimming pool. You take the flying you don't like and you toss it out of the water. So what's left in there is the only thing that the system could award you. The system is set up to say that what you don't want is much more important than what you do want. What's left in your pool, you're saying you're okay flying. You probably have priorities of what's left in that pool of what you want the most, but you've taken the things out of the pool that you don't want to fly. Now, some of that's going to happen naturally as it goes onto a senior pilot's line, but once we use our prefer offs and our avoids, we choose lower the limit, the water line in our pool and remove the kind of flying we don't like out of the pool. So some examples of that. In this example, we have a wave in a set condition. The pilot has said they want a wave 1 and 7 off, so they're willing to work more than 6 days in a row. Set condition, maximum days on in a row they want to work is 5. You'll note that directly contradicts line 2. This is taken from another pilot's bid, which I thought was kind of funny. Then they have line 4 is a prefer off. They're saying I'd prefer to be off between June 6th and June 9th, between noon and midnight. And prefer off is again a negative bid preference. So that's saying any flying that touches June 6th at noon to June 9th at midnight, or well, I guess 23:59, we're removing from our pool of pairings. Now we're saying I don't like pairings that are longer than 3 days. So any 4 or 5, or God forbid, a 6-day that makes it into the bid package, that's all being removed from our pool of pairings. We don't want to be on duty between 3 and 4:15 in the morning. So all of that is removed from our pool of pairings. Once it's all removed from our pool of pairings, we can go into the award pairings section and start adding things to our line. So the positive bid preferences uses the award pairings command to take things from the pool of pairings and place it onto our line. All right, so in this example, we can see the 10th to the 16th we had vacation. That's grayed out. That means it was already on our line. We know 7 days of vacation at 4 hours a day is worth 28 hours. So we're starting the month with 28 hours. And we assume that on this run, the administrator has the threshold set to 84 hours. So we're starting at 28 hours. We need to work our way up to 84 or beyond to get a line. In this example, the first bid we tell is we enter a command of the system, wave 1 and 7 off. Line 3, then we say set condition, maximum days on a row 5. We've now told the system how we want to build our schedule. Now let's tell it what we don't like. We prefer off June 6th at noon to June 9th at midnight. Okay, all of those trips are removed from our pool of pairings. All right, line 5, avoid pairings if they're longer than 3 days. All right, all the 4, 5, 6-day trips removed from our pool of pairings. I don't want to be on duty between 3 a.m. and 4:15. Great, removed from our pool of pairings. Now we're starting to use our greens, our awards. Notice right now the reason our greens are below our yellows and oranges is because if the greens had been above our yellows and oranges, the system would start awarding before it removed anything. It's not what we want. We want it to honor our negative bids before it starts supporting things. We need to remove the trips we don't want from our pool before we take trips out of our pool. But anyways, line 7, I'd like to award any pairing that has a layover in Kona, limit 1. So I'm saying I would like 1 Kona trip. It did that. It awarded us 1 on the 1st to the 3rd. Hey, Nick, what's up?
Question on the avoid avoid pairing if any duty between 3 and 4:15. Is that going to be set to our domicile time, or is that set to wherever you're at, whatever?
Great question. Any time you see on this is always going to be local domicile.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, times are always local domicile. Great question. And anyone else, if you want to ask a question, just feel free to interrupt, toss a hand, or even just ask. By all means, this is open floor. Cool. So line 7, we awarded our single Kona trip, limit 1. We got it on the 1st. Line 8, award me Anchorage layovers, but I only want 1 of them. All right, it gave you 1 on the 17th of the month. Next, you're saying I want some efficient turns. So award pairings if the average daily credit is greater than 8 hours, if the pairing length is equal to 1 day. So you're saying you want high credit turns. The system went looking and couldn't find any. Either there were none this month or they've all been awarded to pilots senior to you. So now it moves on to the next line, which is line 10. It says award pairings if the average daily credit is greater than 8 hours and it's a 2-day. It found one on the 22nd, that San Francisco flight M0603 worth 16 hours and 12 minutes. It put it on our schedule. Important to note, we didn't put a limit on there. So if the system could find more 2-day turns worth more than 8 hours, it would keep adding as many of them as it could to our line, thinking that that's it is our priority. But in this example, it only had a single one that it found left. So then it moves on to line 11, which says award pairings if the average daily credit is greater than 7 hours and 30 minutes and the pairing length is equal to 1 day. It finds its first one, which is for, we'll call it M0450 on the 19th, worth 748. It does a sanity check, and if anyone's been following along with the calculator, you'd see we're at 83 hours and 50 minutes right now. Almost to the threshold, but not quite there. It says, all right, I still need to add flying to your schedule. It stays on this line because it still has flying it can award you, and finds you M0409 on the 29th, worth another 748. And now we're at 90 hours and 59 minutes. The system says, hey, I've exceeded the threshold. It pats itself on the back and says, we're done here. I have made a schedule. It will never read line 12, line 13, line 14, etc., because once it reaches the threshold, it just simply stops processing and moves on to the next pilot. Any questions on this? Going once, going twice. All right. So in summary, the type of bids that we have. Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
You go back a slide. Just so I understand, the wave number 3 and the avoid number 5, there's no contradiction there. You're just saying at the end of the day, if we have to start throwing stuff on my line, I don't want to go above 5, but it's going to do everything it's going to avoid anything greater than 3 while it's building.
Line number 3 is saying the maximum days of work in a row I want to do is 5. Line number 5 is saying avoid pairing lengths longer than 3 days. So you're still saying if you're going to toss a bunch of turns on my schedule, the maximum I want you to put is 5, or I'm okay with a 3-day and a 2-day, a 3-day and a couple of turns, a 2-day and 3 turns. You're saying any combination of trips 3 days or less is fine so long as they don't exceed 5 days in a row of work. But line number 5 is saying I'm willing to work up to 5 days in a row, but I am not willing to work a trip length longer than 3 days. Does the difference make sense?
I get it now. Would that include training too?
Line number 3 would include training, yes.
Okay. All right. And obviously, yeah, okay, perfect. Thanks.
You're welcome. To summarize the basics of entering a bid and the basics of command, your waves, which are light blue colored, adjust and disregard certain rules. Your set conditions, also light blue colored, tell PBS the way you want your line to be built. Your prefer offs and your avoids, that's your prefer offs are your yellows and your avoids are your oranges, removes trips from your pool of pairings, and your awards takes from your pool of pairings and places on your line. And again, to emphasize, the system reads a line and does the action. So if you start telling it to award me high credit 4-day trips on line 1 and line 2 says avoid red eyes, it could very well never read line 2 because it would find all the trips that you wanted from line 1, which just said give me some high value trips, and they might all be red eyes because the system does not read ahead. It simply does the line, it reads the line, performs the action, which is why our greens, our awards, we always want at the bottom. We always want to start taking from the pool once we have very thoroughly defined how we want to take from the pool and what's in the pool. Questions? Does anyone need a break? All right, let's go for another 20 minutes to 9 a.m. and then we'll take a break. So learning about specific bid preferences. ALPA's got a really nice document that you can find on the ALPA website that will give you all the information about what a specific document or a specific type of command does. We don't have the time to go through all those 38 possible avoids and the 100 and whatever possible bid commands are in this class and teach you all what everything means. But if you follow that URL to the ALPA website, which I'm trying to pull up right now on another screen, and it's going very, very slow for me. We've got great documentation that just explains what every single thing here is, what it does, how it all works. I highly recommend everyone takes a few minutes at some point to read the documentation and learn to be bidding a little bit better. We've got some really good videos up there also that cover a lot of these topics in like 5-minute videos. They're originally Delta videos that were plagiarized by JetBlue, that were then plagiarized by Spirit, that were then plagiarized by Frontier, that were then plagiarized by Alaska, that were then plagiarized by us. So they're very well defined. And ALPA at the committee level is really good about working with other airlines and said, oh yeah, back when those were our videos, here's the things we would have changed. Oh yeah, back when those were our videos, this is what Delta told us to change. Yeah, this is what Frontier told us to change. So by the time they've gotten to us, they're very well refined. You get to listen to Ryan Odorizzi's wonderful voice as he narrates all of this stuff. They're 5 to 10 minutes long. They're really, really good videos. I recommend it. The example I tell everyone is I'd really recommend everyone spend, I know it's a lot, big ask, but just 6 hours reading the documentation, watching the videos at some point, because you're probably better off spending 6 hours at home doing that than 6 hours on a red eye turn some month going, why the heck am I here? How did I end up on this red eye turn? Because you might not have needed to. So denial mode, not a bad thing. So if we think about earlier, that pool of pairings example, you remove flying from your pool of pairings with your negative bids. Well, if you're very, very junior, obviously you could get to a point where you just remove too much flying. If you are the most junior pilot on property, that I shouldn't say on property, but you're a very junior line holder and you say, yeah, I don't want to work anything other than turns. I only want to go to Cancun. I don't like waking up between 10 a.m. before 10 a.m. and I don't like going to bed, and I don't want to land after 9 p.m. You could probably get so specific with your negative bids that there's just nothing left in your pool of pairings to award you. So the system needs some way in order to take trips or to add trips back into your pool of flying to build you a schedule. And the way it does that is called denial mode. So we think of our prefer offs and our avoids as restrictions you're placing on your bid group. Not to mention senior bidders have taken away some trips, leaving fewer stuff in your pool of pairings. At some point, we just don't have enough flying left to build a schedule. So any set condition, prefer off, or avoid can be denied. Note waves are never denied because waves are just opening up the system to have more flexibility to build you a schedule, so there'd be no point in ever denying a wave. But anything that's a set condition, a prefer off, or an avoid has the potential for the system to deny it. What that means is it says I could ignore this preference as needed to build you a schedule. The system follows top-down priority logic. Whatever you put first is the last thing to be denied. So in this example, line 3 is the last thing to be denied, then 4, then 5, and line 6, which is avoid pairings of unduly between 3 to 415, is the first thing the system will deny. The order that you rank these is you're telling the system from most important to least important what should be denied or what should not be denied, I should say. Whatever you put at the bottom, the last line, is the first thing the system will try to deny if needed. Important to note, if you are entering into denial mode, the system only, am I going the wrong direction here? I am. 1 second. If we enter into denial mode, the system only needs to build you to the start of the credit window, not to the threshold. That's because the system is saying if I'm forcing you to do the kind of flying you don't want to do, I'm just going to stop as soon as I can. I'm not going to make you keep going. All right, where were we here? So prefer ops and avoids. If you don't enter into denial mode, a prefer off and avoid is the same thing in the eyes of the system. They're both a negative bid preference. If you enter into the denial mode, prefer off and avoid commands are slightly different. Why are they slightly different? It's because prefer offs can be partially avoided or denied, excuse me. And again, the order you type things out is you're telling the system the most important thing. So let's assume we have to enter into denial mode. We have lines 21, 22, 23 here. Line 23, you said prefer off Sunday and Monday. Because Sunday is written first, you're telling the system that's your priority. So the system will deny prefer off Monday before it denies prefer off Sunday. If it denies both of those and has to move into the next thing, now you're preferring off to between June 30th at essentially midnight and June 27th at noon. You've told the system, because June 30th is up front and June 27th is behind it, that June 30th at midnight is the most important side of that slide, of that window to be off on. So it starts at June 27th at 12:01 and sees if it can build you a trip, then moves to June 27 at 12:02, 12:03, 12:04, and minute by minute incrementally opens up that, slowly working its way back towards June 30th at midnight, trying to see if it can build you to the credit window. If it has to deny that entire line and gets to June 30th at 23:59, then it moves on to line 21 and says, okay, you prefer off June 2nd to June 7th, June 15th, because June 15th is the last one. We deny that first, then June 7th, then June 2nd. And you could put anything you want there. You could call it, in order, you could say June 7 to 15, June 15 to 7 to 7:15. You pick the order, is the point I'm getting here, of what's important to you to be denied in what order. The system reads denies in the order of bottom to top, and denies in the order of right to left. So always order the things that are important to you from most important to least important, and top to bottom and left to right. Let's say you've got a 3-day vacation and day 1 and day 2 or day 3 are pretty much all travel. So you're like, look, I'm going on a family thing. I'm leaving early morning June 1st. I'm spending all day June 2nd at the cabin, and we're driving back all day June 3rd. I need that whole time off. There's no point in the system just giving me a couple days of it or half of it. Like, that's wasted. So you can put a command called all or nothing, which is telling denial mode, honor the whole command, don't partially deny it. Your avoids. Avoids, much like prefer offs, are still negative bid preferences. They remove things from our pool of pairing. If we enter into denial mode, an avoid preference is wholly denied, never partially denied. It simply denies the whole line. So avoid pairings that check in time after 10 a.m. All of those removed from your pool. Avoid anything with a carryout, removed from your pool. And in line 27, we got a red X here, just reminding us that yes, you can say avoid pairing if the pairing number is M005. If you want to do that, you can totally do it. But if that's, say, an AM Vegas turn, it's better to tell the system why you don't want to do that kind of flying. Is it because you don't like going to Vegas? Is it because you don't like going AM turns? Is it because it's not worth enough credit? Is it a combination of all of these things? Tell the system that. If you just tell it you don't want a specific pairing number, you expose yourself to similar flying to that pairing number. But if you can figure out why you don't like that pairing number and you can articulate it to the system, you're better off protecting yourself from similar flying to it. You want to keep your avoids on separate lines a lot of times, unless there's a specific reason you're trying to. This example, line 28, 29, below it says avoid pairings of any Legos or red eyes. So that command is avoiding all the red eyes. Line 29 is avoiding any pairing that has a layover in Los Angeles. So we've avoided all the red eyes and all the layovers in Los Angeles. But just note, if we combine those into one line, avoid pairings if any layover in LAX, if any Legos or red eye. Now you're saying only avoid pairings if there's a layover in Los Angeles and somewhere in that pairing you have a red eye flight as well. That's a very, very specific avoid instead of two more general ones. Maybe that's what you're trying to do. Maybe you really hate layovers in Los Angeles, but not if there's not a red eye flight in there. If that's what you're trying to do, more power to you. Just know that when you combine avoids, you need to honor every single condition on that avoid in order for the line to be avoided. When the system enters denial mode again, it denies the entire line. So going back, if we were to line 28, it's denying, all the pairings that have layovers in LAX and every red eye. In this example, line 30th, you're saying, I don't want layovers in Boston, Los Angeles, or Milwaukee. If that line went into denial mode, it would expose you to every Boston, every Los Angeles, every Milwaukee in the system. If you hate them all equally, I guess that's not a problem. But if you have a preference of saying, hey, in denial mode, I'd rather do Milwaukee first, then Los Angeles, then Boston, then order from top down. Boston is the most important thing to avoid, then Los Angeles, then Milwaukee. That way, the first thing it denies is Milwaukee to you, and now you're not doing Boston or Los Angeles, and if it has to avoid Los Angeles, at least you're still not doing Boston. Back to the awards. Remember, once you've whittled down your pool of pairings using your prefer-offs and your avoids, and your senior bidders have taken stuff away from you as well, we start to use that award pairing preference commands to tell PBS which trips to draw from our pool of pairings and place on the line. Well, we talked about avoid pairings. We want to be very broadly cast a wide net. When you're being awarding pairings, it's good to be specific to get the exact trip that you want. And remember, you got 200 bid lines, so be as specific as you want to start off with. How can we be specific? A couple of ways. One is limit. If you remember that example earlier with that Kona and Anchorage awarding, we use that limit command. If we look at that green line 16 on both of these examples on the right and left, on the left side, there's no limit. So when the system reads line 16, I'll use my mouse to point. If it reads line 16 here, it's going to award us as many Anchorage layovers as it can to get as close to the threshold as it can until it runs out of Anchorage layovers. Versus this one, you're saying, I just want to go to Anchorage one time. Only one layover in Anchorage. If you want to spend your whole month with Anchorage layovers, this is what you want to do. If you're like, Anchorage is cool, but I only need to go fishing once this month, use this one. It's totally what you're trying to accomplish. The other thing we recommend is combining commands onto a single award preference. If you read this, line 18, on the stack over there, so this line 18, the system first does that wave. It gives us this prefer off date range. It says we're going to work a maximum 3 days in a row. It removes the check-in times after or before 10, removes the red eyes, removes all the Gulfport layovers. And then line 18, it immediately goes, give me anything with an average daily credit of 715. Well, if your average daily credit is of 715 or greater is on a 2 or a 3 day trip, it's going to give that to you because you've asked for anything with an average daily credit of 715. And if it hasn't filled it up with a bunch of turns 2, 3, 4, 5 day trips, then it reads line 19, which says, oh, now turns. But we've only asked for 1 day trips, and now you're going to have potentially a whole bunch of Denver trips because you've told it that's equally important as a Punta Cana turn. But if we were to combine these two lines together, like here, now instead of just any trip that has an average daily credit of 715, we're saying give me an average daily credit of 715 if the pairing length is a turn. Now you're getting high credit turns, which is probably what everyone would prefer to go through. Or well, I shouldn't say everyone, but that's probably what many people here at this airline would prefer. Instead of just anything with an average daily credit of 715, we'd probably prefer the turns. You can put up to 10 commands on a single line of things you want to do. In my bid, I'll show you guys later, I think I've got like 4 or 5 on one of them. Like if you can get 10 up, that's awesome. Like more power to you. I'd love to see that bid. Like show it to me. That'd be super cool. But here's an example of 3. Award pairings if the average daily credit is greater than 715, so high efficiency. Award pairings if they're a single turn, pairing length is day length is 1, and the check-in time is after 6:30. All right, cool, easy bid. Interesting, if you're reading ahead, it says, notice that if PBS had to deny line 15, which is give me pairing check-in times after 10 a.m., in order to build you a complete line, you can still tell PBS in your award pairing lines that you wanted to award you pairings with a check-in time after 6:30. So at least if you have to get denied those before 10 a.m. shows, you're going to avoid the super early things. Just a secondary way to protect yourself. It's great to be specific at first, but eventually you want to broaden this up. So in this example, we're asking for award pairings if the average daily credit is greater than 715, the pairing check-in times after 11:30 a.m., and it's a turn. If you can't give me that to the threshold, now give me award pairings if the average daily credit is still greater than 715, the check-in time is after 11:30, it's a 2-day trip. If you can't give me that, give me at least a Punta Cana layover with a 715 average daily credit. And if you can't give me that and I'm still not at the threshold, now award me any pairing with an average daily credit of 715, a checkout time before 7 p.m., and the trip length is less than 4 days. It's possible that you've asked very specifically and there's not enough stuff to get you to the threshold by this point, at which point the system always enters at the end of this blank award pairings tab, which says, all right, I haven't built you to the threshold. You've run out of award commands. So I will just go into generic and anything left in your pool of pairings, I'm going to add to your line to get to the threshold. And the system will do that before it enters into denial mode. Because remember, the system thinks that what you don't want is more important to you than what you do want. If there was flying you really didn't want to do, you'd have taken it out using your avoids and your prefer offs. So anything left in your pool of pairings is fair game to be awarded to you. What's left in your pool of pairings? you want to be specific using your award commands to rank what's in there. If there are things in there that you really don't want to fly, you should deny them, avoid them, refer them off. We recommend that you ensure you have enough award pairing lines so it never reaches the generic award pairings command. If you're senior, that's true. If you're pretty junior, you might just have to take what's left in the pot or decide to be on reserve. What we like to do, and you can see mine in a little bit here, is what we call the waterfall bid. What's the waterfall bid? Well, I mean, just look at what we've got here. All of these, for the first 3 lines, we're asking for 1-day trips, so pairing line 1, give me average daily credit of 715 turns. Line 19 then, give me at least average daily credit of 645 or greater turns. Then give me average daily credit of 615 or greater, still turns. Then I'm back to high efficiency, give me average daily credit 715, 2 and 3 days. Average daily credit 645 or greater, 2 and 3 days. Average daily credit 615 or greater, 2 and 3 days. If you can't give me that, just give me the most efficient 4 days you can from 715 down to 615. Then I'm willing to take the lower credit turns after all that is said and done. You're just kind of essentially bidding for efficiency in this example. Give me the most efficient flying that you can, but I'd really like to do shorter trips. So as a general rule, the order of your bid lines is waves go at the top, and in fact, waves default to the top. They can't be moved. They're always going to be there. And then your set conditions, you prefer offs and avoids, whatever is most important to you, because remember, denial mode denies from bottom up. So you start ranking from top to bottom, and what's the most important set condition, prefer off and avoid to you. It's different to all of us. And then after that, you start adding for your awards in order of what's most important to you. Remember that if we put our awards before our set conditions, prefer offs and avoids, the system can potentially award us a schedule with never having seen our set conditions, prefer offs and avoids. So the takeaway, green's always, always, always at the bottom. The system just reads your bid groups literally line by line and does not look ahead. All right, we're right up to 9 a.m. and we're about to start the next slide. Let's take 15 minutes. Is that all right with everyone? Someone give me a hands up or an emoji or something to let me know that people are listening. All right, thanks guys. Appreciate it. We're going to take 15 minutes. We'll resume this presentation at 9:15. I'll see you guys shortly. All right, everyone, we'll move on to the next slide in about 1 minute here. Before we do, does anyone have any question? All right, if there are no questions, we'll just move along. So really quick, can somebody throw like a hands up emoji just to make sure everyone's here, everyone hears me? Or even unmute and say you hear, you know, any of the sort. Cool, appreciate it. All right, that'll work. So all of the examples that we've had so far, oops, going the wrong direction here. We've been talking about single bid group bids. Remember, a bid group is kind of like a bid strategy. So at some point you might say my bid strategy has failed and I want to move to a next bid strategy. That'd be a new bid group. So let's talk for a second about how we can move between bid groups and why we would want to move between bid groups. Well, there's 2 ways to move between bid groups. One is automatically, and that's your junior, and there's just not enough trips left over that could not award you flying. And the bid group that it's moving you to is spoiler reserve. Or manually, because your bid strategy, in your opinion, has failed and you need to be moved into the next group. We move between bid groups using a couple of commands. The important thing to remember is everything that it had previously awarded you is wiped. Anytime we move between bid groups, we start from scratch, we start brand new. So even if you're a minute away from the threshold, if you kill the system, once you reach this point, move me to a new bid group, everything that was previously on your schedule is wiped clean, we start over. The first way to move between bid groups is called else start next, or ESN. And else start next is a command that you can put at the end of any negative bid preference, so prefer off or an avoid, or a set condition. And what this is in denial mode, the system, instead of denying this preference, simply starts the next bid group. You're saying that everything on this bid line must be honored, or you move me into the next bid preference or the next bid group. You cannot deny this bid line. So in this example, lines 3 and 4 prefer of June 9 to June 6, L star next, avoid pairing if any Legos or red eye, L star next. You're telling the system that this bid strategy is dependent upon you getting preferred June 9 to 6 off and avoiding red eyes. If either of those things cannot be honored, the red eyes or the June 9 to June 6, L star next, and it'll move you into the next bid group. Maybe you have a birthday party for your children, a wedding anniversary, or a vacation that you need on that date range, but you need that date range off. And you are making a lot of choices in your bid because you assume that you're going to get that time off. If you can't get that time off, you want a whole different bid strategy. You can use as many L start next commands as you want. You can put them on every single line if you want to, saying honor all of this, L start next bid group. But you would never ever want to use L start next in your last bid group. Notice here we have two bid groups. The first one has the L start next. The second bid group, lines 9 through 16, do not have an L start next. The reason why we would never want to put an L start next command in our last bid group is because below that is always a blank bid group. And if you put an L start next command in your last bid group above nothing, it moves you into what's called secondary line generation. Secondary line generation is just what it sounds like. It is you have told the system you have no preferences at all in the world about what you get assigned, and the system will happily give you whatever it wants to make your line. You'd never want to be there because at least if you're in your bid group, remember that denial mode is going to honor some of your preferred off, some of your avoids, some of your set conditions. You know, you're going to get some of the stuff you wanted, some of the things you wanted from your award pairings if you're in your bid group. But if you're in secondary line generation, you are totally at the mercy of the system to build you whatever the heck it wants. Not only that, you're going to get the worst things that this system can give you. The reason for that is something called a vertical swap. If we remember earlier, we said, tell the system you want an average daily credit of 715 and a one-day trip. Don't just tell it you want a one-day trip. Because if you were to tell the system, all I care about is one-day trips, turns, you are telling the system that every single turn is equally important to you as every other single turn, and you don't care which one. You're saying that Denver is just as good for you as Liberia. If that's the case and you say all I want are one-day trips, the system looks at it and goes, there are literally thousands upon thousands of combinations of one-day trips that I could give you, so I'm just going to randomly pick some. Well, somebody junior to you, and maybe it fills you up with Cancun turns and Liberia turns. Somebody junior to you says, hey, I'd really like Liberia and Cancun turns. The system goes, well, the senior bidder only asked for turns. The junior bidder wants more specific requests. So I'm going to retroactively take these nicer turns that you would probably consider nicer off your line, give them to the junior bidder, and give you a bunch of Denver and St. Louis. It's not trying to harm you in any way. It simply does not know any better. It thinks that everything that meets the criteria of what you've asked it to give you is equally happy as everything else. If there's something better, it's your responsibility to tell the system. So circling back here to secondary line generation, if you find yourself in secondary line generation because you accidentally put an else start next above an empty pairing group, you have become a trading board for your entire seat. If you're a Minneapolis captain, every other Minneapolis captain is free to trade with you. If you're an FO, every other FO is free to trade with you in your domicile. You're literally only going to get the junk left over that no one else wanted if you find yourself in secondary line generation. The good news is the system throws up a very big error message if you try to do this, saying, warning, you have L start next command and an empty bid group below. Are you sure you want to proceed? Anytime the system throws up an error message that says, are you sure you want to proceed? The answer is no. As long as you say no every time this thing throws an error message at you, you will protect yourself. If you get an error message, click no, file a dart, call me, and we'll figure out why, and we'll fix your bid. But if the system throws up an error message at you, please don't override it. You're going to have a bad day. So remember, if you don't put an L start next in your last bid group, at least some of the things in your bid group are going to get awarded to you. Some of your award preferences, some of your prefer off, some of your waves, some of your set conditions. You know, the system will do a better job knowing what you want if you are in your last bid group versus ending up in that secondary line generation bid group. You don't want to be in secondary line generation. It's not a fun place. Earlier, we talked about how you can prefer off June 6th to 9th, all or nothing, saying I want all of it off. Fundamentally, that's similar to saying L star next. The difference in an all or nothing is you're saying in denial mode, prefer me off this entire range, all or nothing. But if you can't give it to me, deny the whole line and keep me in this bid group. Versus L star next is deny the whole thing or move me to the next bid group. Admittedly, these two slides should be, or these two bid groups should be inversed. That's a mistake. So using all or nothing and L star next may seem like the same thing. It's not. One is saying I want June 6 to 9 off, and if I can't have it all, disregard this bid group, keep me in the same bid group, versus I'll start next, which is I want it all. If you can't give it to me, move me into the next one. Tim Pavlich calls this the nuclear option. I disagree with that. I think this is very surgical. I think this is being very specific about getting what you want exactly and saying at this point, move me to the next bid group. I think the nuclear option is something different. I think the nuclear option is what's called clear schedule and start next. You notice that dark blue line, clear schedule, start next. It's always the very last line if you select it. What that is saying is never get into the blank award pairings tab, never even enter denial mode. If you haven't built me the schedule I want before you enter the award pairings tab, nuke the whole thing and move on. It's the dream schedule. It's the perfect schedule button. It's saying if you haven't given me every single thing that I want here, move on. I have seen a lot of very senior bidders using this very successfully with default bids because they're making what I would call perhaps some deals with the devil in order to ensure they're getting the sort trips that they want in PBS. And they're saying if I don't get a line that's predicated only around giving me sort trips, then I definitely don't want to fly this kind of flying, but I'm willing to fly this kind of flying in order to do sort trips. So they say, prefer off all this stuff, avoid all this other stuff, and then their only award is award me sort trips, as many of them as you can. And if you haven't built me a whole schedule of sort trips, clear schedule and start next. Hey, Nick, what's up?
So just to be clear, if it fills your line by line 40, it never gets to 45. It doesn't touch nuclear option, right? You're just saying everything. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, you're saying if you haven't built me a full schedule by line 45, nuke it. That's the it's the ticking time bomb. It's the landmine down there that when the system eventually steps on it, it blows the whole thing up. But if it builds your schedule before it gets down there, it never steps on the nuclear landmine. Make sense?
Yep, thanks.
Using CSSN clear schedule start next or ESN L start next have the same danger if either one of them is used in every bid group, which is secondary line generation if you push yourself all the way out of bidding. So we strongly recommend that your last bid group never ever has a clear schedule start next command or an L start next command. You really don't want to end up in secondary line generation. You really don't want to end up in a free trade board for the whole seniority list. It's not a fun place to be. So the key takeaways here. PBS only processes from one bid group. You never get some pairings from one bid group and then get a few more out of another bid group. You always take all of your trips from a specific bid group. If you want to move between two bid groups, you can either move automatically because you're junior and you ran out of flying, or manually because you use the L start next command or the clear schedule start next command to say my bid strategy has failed here. I'm moving on to the next bid group. Your last bid group should never have the L start next command or the clear schedule start next command because you're going to find yourself in that secondary line generation, which is not a good place to be. The clear schedule start next command is really saying I need all of the set conditions, prefer offs, the avoids, and all of these awards in this bid group. If you can't give me the perfect schedule here, do not enter denial mode. I'm done. The L start next command is saying I want some of these, only the set conditions, prefer offs and avoid pairings that have an L start next command on them. Do I need, it's saying it's okay to enter into denial mode, but this is the point where you leave denial mode and move to my next bid group. Using neither of them is saying build me from this bid group. You will, and that you're saying that this is the bid group that for sure my schedule will be built in if previously you hadn't been able to build it in a previous bid group that had the clear schedule start next or the L start next. Does anyone have any questions? Cool. All right, I'm going to take 2 minutes here because we are super ahead of schedule, and this is our last module. Is going to be reserve, and then we enter into bidding, and I need to grab a couple more instructors here to help teach the system interface. So just bear with me. I'm going to make a quick couple of texts here, and then I will be back with to talk reserves. All right, reserve bid group bidding. Reserve bid group bidding is pretty much done the same way as pairing bid group, except you're bidding for reserve. You still have prefer offs, you still have set conditions, you still have waves. You can still ask for specific reserve days on. You actually have some more prefer or some different wave commands on reserve than you do on a line bidding. And let's look at what some of that is. Waves. So under the PBS LOA, going forward, reserve schedules will generally be built with a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 6 days on in a row. That means all of your reserve blocks will have between 4 to 6 days on in a row. You are also contractually guaranteed 3 days off between reserve blocks. So you're going to have between 4 to 6 days in a row of reserve and 3 days off. You can use minimum days off to waive that guarantee down if you want to defer numbers. The company can 2 times a year say, we're willing to let you have between 3 to 6 days on in reserve a row. So a little less shorter reserve blocks, but then we're only going to have 2 days off between reserve blocks instead of 3 days off between reserve blocks. You're still contractually guaranteed 1 block of 4 days off in a row between all reserve lines. If you want to waive that 4 days off, you could do it if you're trying to get something specific. An interesting new thing exists in PBS is that 1 day off in 7. If you want, you can sit more than 6 consecutive reserve days in a row. And this is kind of interesting. If you want to sit more than 6 days of reserve in a row, you can totally do that. Flight attendants do this all the time, actually. And they've got similar FARs that we do. If you wanted to sit 10, 15 days straight of reserve, you could do that if you want to front load your schedule that way. You're still needing 30 hours free from duty at some point in a rolling 168 hours. So, in a rolling 7 days. So if you wanted to do that, the company could put you on reserve for 15 days. And at some point in there, it is the company's responsibility, not yours, but the company's, to reach out to you and say, hey, you're starting 30 hours of rest right now, which essentially is a free little more than a day off of reserve. It's a free paid day off too. So if you were to say that you want to work 7-day stretches of reserve in a row, it's really the same as 6 days in a row because you're guaranteed to get one of those days off. Theoretically, the company could forget about you and you can go half the month on reserve. They could try to assign you a 6-day trip and you're like, oh, I'm super illegal from that. Because remember, rest has to be assigned ahead of time. The company can never say, yeah, but we haven't used you in the past like 4 or 5 days. You sure can go, I was on duty. I was on reserve. That's not rest. Rest is only rest if you tell me before the rest starts that I'm starting rest. So let's think of a couple of ways where you could play with that feature. You really want the 8 to 10th off, and you'd really like as many days off in a row as you can get. So in your first bid group here, starting on line 5 for reserve, you're like, hey, I really want March 8 to 10th off. I want at least 7 days off in a row, but I'd really like 12 days off in a row if I can. If I can't get 7 days off in a row, though, I'm going to start next bid group, go on to a next strategy. So we set up a bid in line 5 there, reserve bid group saying set condition long call. That's my first choice. If I can't get long call, give me PM. Can't give me long. PM, give me AM. Not even bidding for red eye. I'm willing to waive my 1 off at 7. That's critical to get what we're trying to achieve here. I want the 8 to the 10th off, and then I'd like 12 days off. If you can't give me that, give me 11 in a row. Give me 10 in a row, 9, 8, 7. You can't give me 7 days off in a row, start the next bid group. The second bid group, we're going to try something different. I still want to have to say I need long call. I still want PM, still want AM. Critically, I need to waive 1 off and 7 in this bid group to accomplish something. That's what I'm trying to do here. And I'm still trying to prefer off March 8 to 10th. But now I'm using what's called the pattern bid of saying I want anywhere between 4 to 18 days off in a row on reserve, but I want at least 6 days off between all my reserve blocks. Give everyone a moment to digest what we're reading here. But let's say that first bid group, reserve bid group, starting on line 5 works, and we get awarded a schedule from that. This. PBS said, okay, I got the 8th to the 10th off. I gave you 12 consecutive days off in a row. You are now on long call reserve from the 14th to the 31st. Remember that you still can't work more than 7 days in a row, or I should say 6 days in a row. At some point, this company still needs to call you and say you're starting 30 hours off here. And you're not taking a pay cut on that. This is on your schedule. So the company somewhere in here still needs to make sure that you are not working too many days in a row. Is it possible they screw that up and you get a lot of free time off here? Yeah. I think they're probably going to catch on to it pretty quickly, but it's possible they make a mistake. But essentially, you're backloading your reserve and you're guaranteeing some time off here. So let's say that that first bid strategy wasn't able to be awarded to you and you get the second one. 1 second. So let's say that that first bid strategy failed and we move on to bid group 2, which was we were waiving 1 and 7 again. I'd like the 8th to the 10th off, and I want a pattern between 4 to 18 days off with 6 days off. That looks something like this. We still got awarded long call. We got a stretch of 5 days in a row of long call. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days off. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 days in a row of long call. 6 days off, then 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row of long call. And that 8-day long call, remember, they still need to find a day off from you. You still can't work all of that time. Somewhere in that you are still going to be have to told by the company that this is your off day, or really you're off 30 hours. You can jump between pairing bid group and reserve bid group as much as you want to your heart's content. Christmas is probably the classic example. You could say, if we change the dates in our mind in bid group 1 on line 4, we could say, pretend that says prefer off December 25th, I'll start next bid group. Because if I can't get Christmas off as pairings, I'll take Christmas off on reserve. Then you can say in bid group, starting on line 9 there, on line 12, you could say prefer off December 25th on reserve, I'll start next bid group. Then we're back into pairing world because, you know, if we're not getting Christmas off on reserve, I'm certainly not going to be on reserve by choice. And now I'm back into pairings. So you can jump off with dates. You can say, I need all of these things in pairing, else give me this perfect reserve schedule. If you can't give me my perfect reserve schedule, put me back on pairings. This is just to show that you can casually move between reserve bid groups and pairing bid groups, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. In a reserve bid group, you can also ask to be awarded specific reserve dates. I personally don't know why you would. I think you just use your prefer off to say the days you don't want to be on reserve and let the company or let the system fill you back in with whatever it wanted. But if you've got a reason to do this, by all means, it's a feature. I admit haven't been on reserve in quite some time, so I might be missing something that's pretty obvious to everyone else. Just use caution that your prefer off dates and your reserve on dates don't conflict with that overarching rule that reserve lines need to be built with between 4 to 6 days on and 3 off, unless you're using waves. If you're using waves, then don't worry about it too much. And remember that 2 months a year, the company can use 3 to 6 days on with 2 days off. This is kind of a cool feature called max above. Max above is saying that I'm only willing to be on reserve if X amount of people are above me on reserve. So in this example, set condition max above 4, you are saying I'm only willing to be on reserve if I'm the number 5 or higher reserve line holder. You're saying I'm only willing to let 4 senior people be on reserve to me, otherwise put me back into pairings. You could say max above 0, and you're saying that I'm only willing to be on reserve if I am the most senior reservist on property for my bid group. It's a good way to guarantee that you're getting a lot of the things you want on reserve, specifically your call type. The reason for that is PBS prioritizes awarding your days on and days off before all else. It thinks that's the important thing to you. It's only after it's awarded your days on, days off, and it has finalized everyone's schedule, both pairings and reserve, that it goes through and does a secondary function that says, now that I've determined who's going to be on reserve, what is their call type? It first starts in seniority order and awards the 14-hour long call. Doesn't have to award 14-hour long call if no one wants it. I'm sure everyone wants it, so it's going to, but it won't ever force you into long call. After then, it looks at what crew planning has set as the minimum daily quotas for each short call type. And then in seniority order, it looks at what days you're on and what call type it needs from you for the bulk of your schedule and tries its best to honor that. But there is no guarantee that you're going to get that. So if you say, I'm senior, I want PM reserve, but you just so happen to pick a reserve schedule that has no need for PM reserve, you're not going to get it, even though somebody junior with a very different schedule to you will. The system has no way for you to say, give me AM L-star next, give me PM L-star next, give me long call L-star next, give me red eye L-star next. You cannot do that here. You can preference it, and it'll do its best to honor your preferences. But once you are in reserve world, once you have your reserve schedule assigned, that's when it assigns you your call type. By the time it gives you a call type, there's no way for you to say, ooh, I didn't want that call type, put me back to pairings. You are committed to reserve. So just know that that is somewhat of a loss here. You are no longer really able to guarantee you're getting the kind of reserve that you want. A junior pilot might be awarded a short call type that is preferred by a senior pilot, but was not awarded to the senior pilot. There's no way to prioritize the short call type over your days on, days off. If anyone wants to understand the system logic for that later, give me a call and I can go down the rabbit hole of why that happens. But I've done it in a few classes and it's pretty obvious it just bores people to death. Any questions about reserve bidding? All right, well, we are 20 minutes ahead of schedule. That's awesome. So the next thing everyone's going to do here is log into the actual bidder into the bidder interface. Ooh, I see we had a question here a moment ago from John. So if you don't use L start next or clear schedule start next command in your first bid group, do you ever need to create a subsequent bid group? You do not. If you don't use an L start next or a clear schedule start next command, John, there is no point in using using more than one bid group. Okay, so everyone, let's take some time here. Log into that website. If you're using an iPad, you can scan the QR code, however you want. Your username and password are both your employee number. We'll take another break here because I'm going to get some more of the teachers around so that we can divide this up. So we'll take probably until 10 a.m. to just get everyone in here. I'm just going to wait until everyone gets logged in. Generally, it takes about 15 minutes. So go ahead and use the bathroom again, take a stretch, because after this, we're going to go for the long haul, which is going to be about 90 minutes to 2 hours of just working on bids with everyone as a group. We're going to do this in small group. Username and password are both your employee number. Once you log in, it'll force you to set a new password. By all means, do that. This is going to get hidden behind Okta in the next couple of weeks anyway, so it's going to delete whatever you put in. But for today, your username and your password are both your employee number. All right, so if you're in this room, you're going to be in here for a while. A couple of you will end up pushing in with Marta in a little bit here. But for everyone in here, can you give me like a hands up emoji if you're successfully logged into the bidder? Actually, better yet, just give me like a thumbs down emoji or something if you are not in the bidder interface. I'm overcomplicating this, aren't I? Let me put it another way. Is anyone having problems at all getting in? Cool. No one having problems is what I'm hearing here. That works for me. All right. So does everyone should be in and sees a screen that looks like this at this point? This is the bidder interface main screen. This is essentially the bid package, so to speak. What does that mean? What is in here? Well, we have Starting from the top, bidder details. My name, Jonathan Ingalls, my employee number 11034. We are looking at March 2025 pairings right now. The bid period started March 2nd and went on to March 31st. Pairings breakdown. 817 turns, 222 3 days, 121 3 days, 248 4 days. And I can't really read that, but it should be probably, I can't read how many 5 days that is from this angle at all. But yeah, there's your breakdown of pairings. Over here, am I eligible to bid? Yes. If that ever says no for you and you think you're eligible to bid, dart, call crew planning, talk to somebody. Seniority, that's my total system seniority, 278. Category seniority, this month I'm bidding 169 out of 309 at 54%. Everyone is probably seeing that a little lower than you expect. We enabled every single bidder for this, so even people who've been out on like medical forever are turned on right now. The point was just to include as many people as we could so we didn't accidentally lose everyone. So if you think that number is higher than it should be and your seniority is off, don't worry about it. I am not a line check airman. I am not green, so I'm not first 100 hours. Reduced block, I have no FAR 117 complications coming up. Training seniority, I'm 278. Training requirements, I'm not due for any training. Restricted equipment, doesn't really apply as pilots. That's more of a flight attendant thing, saying you can fly some aircraft, you can't fly others. Restricted locations, that can apply to us. That's, Canada, depending on if you've got restrictions going there. Restricted positions, again, flight attendant thing, saying like, are you restricted from being the lead flight attendant? Restricted location groups, maybe you can't do international travel, that could be there. Shadow dates is if you have, that's the thing that won't apply to anyone, so we're not even going to get into that. Upcoming activities, it shows you what I've got on my schedule. So this was saying whenever we did this snapshot of this March bid period, we were still in the middle of February, so it showed that I had some ALPA work coming up and some off days. Over here, we'll see the bid calendar. Reminds us when bidding timeline is for the month. That's kind of the first couple slides that we went with. Additionally, this is where all the bulk of the bid package would be published. We would have any information about like what the month looks like, that monthly blurb that the ALPA scheduling committee does about why the month looks the way it does would be there. This is where we would say what the average line value is projected to be. This is where we'd say how many lines we roughly expect to have. Remember that that's a moving target. This is where we would say, is this the normal 4 to 6 months with 3 days off reserve, or is it one of the 2 months a year where we're doing the 3 to 6 days with 2 days off between reserve stretches? All of that information that you would need to bid would be in here. The calendar shows what you have coming up pre-assigned on your schedule. So you can see I had the end of February coming into early March, I had vacation. All of that information is there. This isn't full screening for some reason. Weird. Over here is the pairings tab. This is really cool. This is like the heart of the bid package, so to speak. You have all the trips here, and you can scroll down forever to find all of them. You can click on a trip to expand it to see the details about it. We can sort default by pairing number, but we could sort by check-in time, by checkout time, by credit value, time away from base, what stations it goes to, what positions, again, flight attendant thing, not a pilot thing, aircraft type, length of trip, the dates that it starts on, the average daily credit, and I'm sorting right now smallest to biggest. I could instead sort biggest to smallest if I wanted to, and see the sorts at the end and the M0 whatever's here. I can go over here and to the kind of flying I like. Aircraft type. I'm not interested in flying a freighter, so I'd go show me pairings if they do not have any leg that has a 737-H, which the 73H is the freighter. I can apply that, and now I filtered out the freighters. I still got that check marked. Let's just say I want to fly average daily credit greater than 30 minutes, so I want to see efficient pairings. Hit apply there. Now, things are getting filtered up, but we still see a lot of M001s because turns are efficient. So just to make those go away, I'm going to go pairing length. And I'm going to say if not, or if, excuse me, make that easier. I want to say greater than 1 day, just to make some of these ones go away. All right, so now I'm seeing every pairing list that has an aircraft that is not a freighter, has to have an average daily credit of greater than 630, and has to be trip length greater than 1 day. I can even sort average daily credit, highest to lowest. So it says the most efficient average daily credit trip on the 2 days is this 2-day trip right here. 2 day worth 1817. Yeah, that's a pretty efficient 2 day, isn't it? Or I can sort smallest to biggest, and I can see the days of the trip. I can click onto this calendar and read all the details about this 5-day trip. I can see at this calendar above that it only exists on the 24th. Because it's green, it means I'm eligible for it. If I had a pre-assigned activity on one of those days, it would be circled in red saying I'm not eligible for it. And that's kind of the pairings tab. Once I've sorted down my pairings, I can go show a pairing report. It takes forever to load. And it would give me my own customized PDF of the bid package, or I could print it out. I could print out this nice little script here of every single trip that matches the criteria of what I bid for, and I could, like, on my own time go through that if I wanted to bring it into the aircraft. Hey, Marta, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. You ready for me to put a few people into a room with you?
Yeah.
All right, give me 1 second. Three, four. Got left in here. Give you. I'm just gonna open that room. And Marta, you can finish up the whole presentation from your room.
Okay, I will do that.
All right, see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. All right, if you're left with me, then it'll be just be the 6 of us for the rest of this. Alrighty. So, moving on. Now we're going to move into the heart of the thing, which is the bidder interface. So if everyone can follow along, click on Bid tab and click Default. Do you guys all have mics? Are you able to talk? Because this is going to be the Q&A, the interactive side. So we're all going to need to actually speak to each other now for a little bit.
Mike's on.
All right. Appreciate it, Nick.
Mine's on.
Got it. Thanks, Sue. Kyle, Clay, Chris, you all around?
Yeah, I'm on.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm around.
Perfect. Because, yeah, this is, at this point, we get interactive and we just kind of work together to help you all figure out how to bid as best you can for you guys now that we're a small group. So we're going to go into default bid. And this is what you see, this cream color. Part of getting paid for this class is having this default bid in the background. So once we see this default bid uploaded, that's how you know you're actually getting paid for being here today. So we all want to do that. You know, money good and whatnot. All right, so let's just play together and then we'll work individually on everyone's bid. So the first thing I want everyone to do is click on where it says add a bid group. We're going to start a bid group. The first thing we always want to add is our follow. Doesn't make us on reserve or anything, it just makes our follow request. We'll just put one out there. So we'll say we all want to be, for long call, we want last out, and we hit apply, just to have a follow bid out there. Real life, you'd want to do all of this, but for now, we're just going to play with one, just for argument's sake. So we've added our bid group. It's a follow bid group. long call last out. Everyone there?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, next, we're gonna add another bid group. Let's add a pairing bid group. We hit apply. So we should see this line 1 follow, line 2 pairing bid group, and below pairing bid group, it's blue and it says award pairings. First thing we want to do is tell it what do we not want to do? What do we all hate? What kind of flying does everyone not like? Give me something.
Red eyes.
That is universally the first thing everyone says. All right, so we're going to click avoid pairings. And let's hit red eye. And let's hit apply.
John, what are the hours for red eye in the system?
201 to 4:59.
Okay.
If you want to avoid working at any other time than that, you can specify that as well. But that's what it defaults to.
So any pairing that has any sort of duty between those hours, does that include the debrief time?
Yes. Yep, so that would include that. But that's a good point, Nick. So let's all that we're looking at this, I'm going to hit reset all, and I'm going to hit avoid pairing again, and I'm going to hit duty on. I'm going to hit time. I'm going to select a range and say I really just don't want to be on between 3:15 in the morning and call it 3:59 in the morning. So remember that in denial mode, it would deny top to the bottom. So this protects from this. So if we see this on here, I could do something like this. I could click on this, take this up arrow and move it to the top. And now what I've done is I've said, I'd really like to not fly red eyes, but if you enter in denial mode, at least don't put me on duty between 3:15 to 3:59 in the morning. Give myself a double protection, just in case it can't deny all the red eyes, at least deny some of the worst red eyes. That makes sense to everyone what we did?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to add another bid down here. All right, what else do we not like flying? Someone else throw something else. What do they not like?
Early shows before 5 a.m.
All right, so let's avoid pairings. We're going to scroll down. Pairing check-in time. Time. Before 5 a.m., you said, Kyle?
Yeah.
Avoid check-in time before 5 a.m. Hit apply. So now so far we're avoiding any duty between 3:15 to 3:59, any red eye, and any check-in time before 5. And we're telling it that is the most important order for us to do that. Moving on, we'll just keep playing here. Let's set a condition. I like patterns. I like to work anywhere between 3 to 5 days in a row myself, and I like at least 4 days off between all my work stretches. So I would put that on. And again, you can use these arrows to reorder. To me, and this is just my pretend bid, I do something like that. To me, that's more important, is the pattern beats everything else. I like cadence, but it's whatever you guys want. After that, let's start asking for trips. Sue, what kind of flying do you like to do? What's your favorite kind of trip?
I like the cargo.
You like cargo? What's your
Yep.
favorite cargo flight? Favorite cargo trip?
I love Lakeland, CVG, all those, but I like flying during the day if possible.
So you like cargo trips and you like daytime flying.
Yep.
And you would like Lakeland and CVG layovers?
Yep.
Let's ask for all of that in the next line. So this is going to be a complicated bid, but let's do it. Everyone ready?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to award pairing, aircraft type, 73H, but we're not going to hit apply because we got to add multiple things this time. I'm going to hit back. So I did award pairing, aircraft type, 73H, and I'm saying if any of it, because I just want to have freighter flying in there, is a 73H. I'm scrolling down. I'm finding layovers, stations. I'm going to type in CVG and LAL. You can see it's adding a bid line in progress. Award pairings if aircraft type is CVG, if there's layovers in, or if the aircraft type's a freighter, if there's layovers in Cincinnati or Lakeland. I'm going back. And I'm going to go duty on. If not, because I'm avoiding something with a positive preference, this gets confusing. If not, time. And you don't like red eye, Sue? What do you define as a red eye
Oh,
for your
gosh.
purposes?
If I can be done before 1 or 2 in the morning and not have to fly the super early ones.
Sure.
So I'll fly at night, but not too far into the, past midnight.
So how about this? We're going to say if not on duty between 1:30 in the morning and 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we're going to hit apply. So now we've asked it to award us pairings if the aircraft type is a freighter, if there's a freighter anywhere on this trip, if it has landings in Cincinnati or Lakeland, and if it's not on duty between 1:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So a cool thing we can do here now is let's click on line 7 here if that's still highlighted. We're going to hit this button that says Analyze. And this is the analyzer, been showing us everything by default. We're going to unselect here everything except line 7. And actually, I just want to click on only line 7. Sorry. So I'm going to click on line 7 and analyze, make my analyzer big. And now here's a list of everything that matches Sue's request to land in those cities. So here's every pairing that matches your request. There were 55 unique pairings that happened on 57 different days, meaning that a couple of the pairings, same pairing number twice. Pairings on instances is a flight attendant thing because remember there's like 4 flight attendants to the same pairing, whereas pilots there's only ever 1 pilot to the pairing. So flight attendants have like hundreds upon hundreds of instances where we don't, so ignore that. So now I can go down and look and see, hey, Sue's got 57 trips that match this award preference. That seems reasonable to be getting something from.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, cool. And I'll close that out. Moving on. Kyle, what kind of flying do you like to do?
Kind of the same as what she just said, honestly. So
Fair enough then.
yeah.
We'll have fun together, guys. Well, fair enough. If you couldn't get that, Kyle, what would be your second choice of the kind of flying?
Really just any daytime, like 3-day trips, maybe.
Sure. So not a big fan of turns. You want to be gone. You don't want to take the drive every day.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So let's. I'm just gonna hit close. I'm gonna hit the plus again, so I know when I'm back. I see this blank add bid line in progress. Tells me I'm not editing anything. I'm adding another one. I'm gonna hit award pairings. I'm gonna hit pairing and find pairing length. And specifically 3 days, 3 or 4 days, 3 to 5.
3 or 4 days are fine.
All right, so I'm going to say a range between 3 and 4 days in length. And on those 3 or 4 day legs, what do you like?
Daytime flying. Just
Okay.
Typically like show times maybe after like 10 a.m.
In the trip, so let's find en-route check-in time. And let's go after 10 a.m. We'll just hit apply. So now our second choice, if we can't get that freighter flying that's not on duty at night with layovers in Lakeland and Cincy, is we want 3 or 4 day trips that have in-row check-in times after 10 a.m.
Perfect.
Chris, what do you like?
Brunch turns, I guess, are ideal.
Okay. So Sue, Kyle, before we do Chris's, why don't you guys go ahead and hit the submit button right here, and you should see this message come up. That at least gets you paid for being here today. And then we'll move on with the next bid for you. And we'll start working on Chris's. Any issues with that? You guys good? You got the message? It's this up arrow that says submit, and you want that green message. That down arrow saves locally to your device. That means you want to work on it later, but you don't want to submit it. If you have an internet connection, I always recommend just hitting submit. You can submit as much as you want. If you hit the sync data button, that's awesome. The sync data literally just lets you work in offline mode. So if you are in the airplane at some point, you don't have a Wi-Fi connection, as long as you navigate to this page and sync the data, then close your window and don't navigate away from the page, you can just open up your iPad and it'll work again in flight. All right, Chris, tell me more about the kind of flying you like.
Yeah, I guess productive turns would be looking for, weekends off, and yeah, not starting too early. Guess
Okay.
I prefer, yeah. Correct.
You and I have the same kind of bid, so I'll show you mine in a second, which is really ridiculous, but
I do have one
right.
weird thing going on where I'm in Chrome, but it's when I get to a bigger list of things, it won't let me scroll down. No
Can
matter.
you share your, are you able to share your screen?
No, I'm doing I've got the iPad doing the Teams, and then the.
Are you? Do you have a roll button on your mouse? Usually that'll fix it if you hover over it.
I've got like a touch screen that won't work for it.
Try using two fingers on your touchscreen.
I think that might have been the key.
Did that fix it?
I think so, yeah.
We've had a lot of errors, so I'm getting pretty good at troubleshooting of this thing. The two fingers is working for you?
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing you're going to do, Chris, we're going to avoid pairings. Do you have the seniority to consistently hold turns?
Yeah.
Then let's avoid pairings, and let's just make this easy. We're going to avoid pairing length greater than 1. You good with that? Avoid pairings, find pairing length greater than 1. Let me know when you're there.
Okay.
Close that out. Oops, I guess I didn't really need to. Insert another bid. We're going to prefer off weekends. We're going to hit apply. So now we're whittling down our pool. We're making our pool of pairings smaller by preferring off, avoiding anything greater than a 1 day, preferring off the weekends.
Being a little touchy on the scrolling, like I can scroll
It's
on
inclusive.
the preferences itself, or the like the list of preferences, but not the far right thing.
I wish I could see it to be able to fine tune that.
Yeah, I'll click around a little bit longer.
Yeah. Nick, what were you going to say?
What's a weekend in the system, or what does it see a weekend as?
It
Times.
sees a weekend as midnight to midnight, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Okay, so if you wanted, all right, yeah, that's fine.
So it's
Potentially
midnight
a PM
Saturday
break.
morning to midnight Saturday or Sunday evening.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what it sees it as. Now, if we wanted to be more specific than that, we could prefer off specific dates and times and say, like, I'm okay working Saturday until 2 in the morning because that still gives me all Saturday, and I don't mind working Sunday at like 11:50 at night. We could change that date range to whatever we want to customize it to. If we want to be a Sun Country calendar day, 2 a.m. to 2 a.m., we can do that with a click of the button here as well, but it just defaults to midnight on that one. But all right, so we're going to try this. Avoid pairings, pairing length 1 day, prefer off weekends. And then, since you think you've got the seniority to hold it, I'm going to avoid pairings. And you like brunch turn, you said, Chris?
Yep.
I'm going to avoid pairings with a check-in time before 8:30 in the morning.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
are you
one
okay
for
doing
later.
PMs, or what time do you like checking out at?
Um,
When would you like to be done by?
yeah, I mean, I suppose this would be a specific bid. I don't mind AMs or PMs, but brunch
Yeah.
is ideal, right? So it's kind of a,
Mhm.
I don't know if we need to avoid, I guess, yeah, this would be the first layer, right? Or not layer.
You could use it,
Like
yeah.
you said.
as many else start next as you want. But let's go for the dream schedule here. So
Yep.
then after that, I'm going to award you a pairing since I've got you there. Since I'm already filtered out everything except the 1 days. And now let's shoot for efficiency, right?
Yep.
So let's say average daily credit, and this is where it gets cool. Let's get a 10-hour turn. Let's see if it exists. And bam, award pairings, average daily credit of a 10-hour turn. And we know that it has to be a turn, can't be on the weekends right now, and has to check in after 10. And this, you'll notice every time you hit apply, if you don't hit reset, it wants to just insert the same bid over and over. So if I just hit apply over and over and over, it still does the same thing. And then I go delete, 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 delete. But where that gets neat here, if I go average daily credit again, 10 hours greater than, this is where the waterfall is super convenient. Check this out, how fast I can do this. Now I go 9, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. I'm gonna go 8, 45, 8:30, 8:15, 8, 7:45, 7:30, 7:15, 7, 6:45, 30, 6:15, 6, and I just go 5:45, 5:30, and after that, who cares? And I just threw in 25 bids like in about 12 seconds. And now
and then
I'm
higher
asking
up-
this. What was that?
Then higher up, you could do a checkout time before, whatever, 11 p.m. or whatever, right?
And I can go like here, and I go insert below, avoid pairings with a checkout time that is after 8 p.m. Something like that. That kind of flying you'd like?
Yep. And then you could also do else, else start the next, right?
Yep. Or
Can
if
you
you
put
think you're
that
going to get
up
it,
at,
you can
like,
put an else
6?
start next here. The other thing you could do, this would be a good example of you're like, because this whole bid group is totally dependent on getting this kind of strategy. This is the kind of one where I'd probably go just anywhere here. Set condition or instruction, clear schedule start next, and that's going to pop up on the bottom. Because I'm like, all right, I just want super efficient turns that hit all my criteria. And if you can't give me this whole bid group, nuke my schedule, and I'll start another bid group that's maybe more realistic. But at least try to get me everything from here.
And then, not saying I'm going to do it, but if you wanted sorts, how would you find those?
Award pairing, sort. SOR. And TOA is the time availability trips.
Right. And obviously, there's some conflicting things with an SOR and that particular bid, but
yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Here, I'm going to erase this bid really quick. Let me show you my actual bid for a second. So this is my, and one thing that's really cool is you can copy your bids into everything. So I'm going to hit delete this whole bid. I'm going to go back to my current bid. I'm going to copy. I'll paste. Copy. Paste. Copy. Paste. Copy. Paste. Copy. Paste. Oops. Copy. Paste. And I've re-entered my current bid into my default bid. So I have AM first out, PM first out, red eye first out, long call last out. And then my first pairing group, waive rest before training for 10 hours, avoid pairings if any duty has more than 2 legs, and if any leg is a red eye. Avoid pairings if they're on duty between 3:45 and 3:55 in the morning. Avoid pairings if red eye. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to avoid the worst of the Walkle flying that I possibly can. Like, I'd really like to avoid all the red eyes, but if it goes into denial mode, try to at least keep me off between 3:45 and 3:55 in the morning, because that's like the heart of it. And then after here, I'm just like, all right, if that doesn't work, just don't give me 2 leg red eyes, which is essentially red eye turns, like the brutal stuff. Like, I'll do a single leg red eye. After that, put me in the max credit window. Avoid pairing lengths if they're greater than 4 days. If you can't do that, start next bid group. I want to work between 2 to 5 days on, 3 days off. I prefer the weekends off. Now that you're building me trips, give me short trips. If you can't give me that, give me turns that are worth 11 and a half hours of credit. And then you can see I just start slowly going 11, 25, 20, 15, 10, 11. And I work my way down on the turns all the way down to 8-hour turns. And after that, I'm like, okay, if you can't give me 8-hour turns, give me beach layovers in Kona, Liberia, Montego Bay, Mazatlan, Punta Cana, Puerto Vallarta, St. Thomas, San Martin. Assuming I get at least 14 hours on the beach and the 2-day trips, but just give me 2 of them. I'm not greedy. Then I'm back to my turns. Now give me the most efficient turns you can, all the way down to 5-hour, the midday turns. If you can't give me those, now just fill up my schedule with any 2 days that are Caribbean overnights. If you can't do that, now I'm down to efficiency again. Give me the most efficient 2 days you can, 8-hour 2 days, all the way down to 5-hour 2 days. So give me any 2-day trip you can in order of most efficiency. If you can't give me that, I don't care between a 3 or 4 day. Just give me the most efficient 3 or 4 day trip you can, starting at 8 hours down to 5:45. And this is here just because I copied a bid over, but then I'm just like, award me any pairing you can. My last line is just give me anything that's on duty between, that's not on duty between 3:45 to 3:50, if we still haven't got my schedule. And if it has to deny that pairing length of less than 4 days, so now I have to expose myself to 5 days, well, I have the whole bid in here again to give me all that same chance of giving me the same thing. But then in the last line here, I'm like, all right, and I'm still protecting myself from 5-day trips all the way to the last one. I'm saying, fine, if you have to give me a 5-day trip, I don't want to spend it in Cincinnati, because me and Sue and Kyle disagree on that one. I think they're wrong.
Hey, John, question. Can you
Yeah,
scroll
go
back?
for it.
Is this all in the same bid group or did it
I have
just
2 bid
transition to-
groups. Right around line 8
So-
is where I divide it up.
Okay, so if they get to line 79 and they can't do any of that, it'll automatically go to your next bid group. You don't have to transition it to it.
Who can answer that question for Nick?
It's looking back to the avoid stuff, right? So the
Yep.
up at line 6 or whatever that was, right? There was that
Yeah.
else start.
Yep. So Nick, what'll happen is we'll get to line 79 and it'll say, am I at the threshold yet? If I'm not at the threshold, it goes into the award pairings tab. We're still honoring all of this stuff here and tries to add flying, just anything from my pool of pairings. If it can't do that, it goes into denial mode and denies the weekends off and says, and goes all the way back through all this stuff again in order saying, okay, now I'm going to start over and try to find flying on the weekends that meets this criteria. If it can't do that, it's going to go deny this condition of time off and see if we can do that. If it can't do that, it's going to note that the next line says avoid pairing length of 4 days. I'll start next bid group. It'll actually skip over that one and try to take me out of the max credit window. It'll try to do this. It'll try to do this. It'll try to do this. And after all of that fails, it'll come back to this and say, man, you got to work a 4-day trip, unfortunately, or a 5-day trip. And then because I said I don't want to work a 5-day trip, that's the command that triggers the landmine, and then it'll jump down into the next bid group. Only if it exposes me to 5-day trips will it jump into the next bid group.
Is it because it's else? Go back, else or?
Yep, because I have the else start next command on line 11, and it needs to touch the else start next command or the clear schedule start next command to change bid groups.
But it passed over that one before it came back down to it and started
Yep.
the next bid group.
Correct. It'll try.
Is that just
to do
because
it.
you had that there, or would it normally pass over something that says avoid greater than 4?
It's just because the else start next command is down there. It's trying to avoid stepping on the landmine. I'm telling the system that it cannot, this is, I'm just telling it, no matter where that is, you cannot deny that to me without going into the next bid group. And the system's like, okay, I will do everything I can to keep you in this bid group because I think that's what you want.
If I wanted to put multiple L-star next on there, I could do that. I could say L-star next here, L-star next here, and I could put a bunch of L-star next commands on the bid group and put the landmine on all of the things if I wanted to.
Got it. All right. Makes sense.
Then down here, I just have a blank bid group with nothing. Well, not nothing, but I have no L-star next because I don't want to end up in that secondary line generation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Nick, what's your bid look like? What kind of flying do you like? Actually, hold that
I
thought
like.
for 10 seconds. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Sounds good. Suzanne, how did your winter racing season go?
We didn't race last year.
Oh, you didn't?
No, for the first time in quite a few years. But we might
Just
race
not.
this. We might race a little bit this year, but I don't know. We just kind of starting to hang it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's getting too
Well,
expensive. It's too far. Some of the venues are just too far away.
yeah, we don't get a lot of snow down here anymore.
No, no. And then we have to travel like last year they went up to New York and Valcourt, and it's like, no, we're not
Holy
doing that.
smokes.
Yeah.
What? And you still got to sponsor the driver too, right?
And well, we were actually paid to take them. So we got paid to take the drivers, but still, at the
Oh,
end of
nice.
it doesn't, you don't really make anything on it. You break even at best.
Yeah, it's just a very fun, expensive hobby.
Exactly. Now this PBS, it seems like, I mean, this is going to take some time.
Yeah, I feel like if you're super senior though, you could literally go in here and just pick your trips.
Yeah, that's
You
what I'm
could.
thinking too. Yeah.
I mean, if I was in the top 10, I would just go there and select the ones I want.
Yep.
You can go
Yeah.
from that pairings tab over here and literally just like click on something and hit enable bid mode and award me this pairing.
Oh,
And say just
really?
go through.
Yeah.
Yep. So you could filter everything over here and just click on the trips you wanted. I personally think it makes more sense to pick the I can see it goes as your first award, so it's right there. Award me pairing with the pairing number 685. I personally think it makes more sense to figure out why you like specific trips, because if you're filtering through the bid package to find the best trips, you might miss one that's better. But if you want to, you totally can.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
yeah, once you got a feel for
Ingles,
this, yeah. So hit me with it, Nick. What do you like?
I need at least 3 weekends off a month.
Okay.
So.
So let's say we want. So let's start there. Add a bid group, pairing bid group, apply. Prefer off, weekends, apply.
Let's say for this month, I need preferably the first 3 weekends off.
Okay. So if you need the first 3 weekends off specifically, we can do that. So we can say prefer off all the weekends, and we can have another line here. So I'm going to close, add a line. I will say prefer off date range or date list. Either one will work. We'll say date, is the week list. All of these are the same thing. I'm just trying to think of which is the best one to do. We'll go date list. Which weekends do you want off?
All right. I need the first 3 weekends, and the priority would be Saturdays.
Okay.
Now, the way we have it set up here, it's actually going to go reverse in priority, right?
Yep. So what we can do is I can remove all the Sundays. So I'm going to say, you want the first 3 weekends off? I've selected all the Saturdays.
Okay.
So it's saying I'm trying to give you as many of those Saturdays off. And if I can't give you that, now we want the weekends. Do you have an order of which Sundays are most important?
No, you can just do them top to bottom, make it simple.
So now we've got
Uh,
that, but now we still would like to get all the weekends off, right? So we might as well
let's
click
do
add.
9/16/23 though. I think you got it.
Oh, yeah, 9/16/23, just
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
So now after we're done with that, let's try to get the rest of the time off. So we might as well now ask for Saturday the 29th and Sunday the 30th, and then we might as well finish with Sunday the 2nd.
Well, what if I'm willing to accept flying into those days a little bit? Is that what that applied
Alright.
time range does?
Yep. So what are you willing to consider the dates that you want those days off of?
Let's say
To
I'm
start
okay
at.
flying. I'm okay starting. Like I just want to be home by. I mean,
You like to be
I'm
home by
okay
3
landing
a.m.?
at 2 a.m. on Saturday. 2 a.m. on Saturdays are okay if I land.
Sure. What time do you want to depart on a Saturday, if you had to?
Well, I don't want to depart on a Saturday, but if I had to, I
Well,
would
then let's just do
say
that. Let's just say you would like to have all of those dates off between 2 a.m. Starting at 2 a.m. those days.
yeah. Okay.
Now we can be more specific. We can just do your Saturdays on one line, or we can do your Sundays on the next line too.
Okay. And then if you did it in range, it would do it in range too, right?
Yep. And you do it all of them. There's a million different ways to do this.
Wow. Okay.
So like that's one way to do it. And remember, in this example, what I would do here is I'd prefer off weekends below, because the system's going to try to give you as many weekends off as it can. And if it denies the weekends off, then you have the specific dates as a secondary layer to protect you on. Kind of like I did with the red eyes in my example.
Oh, okay. Because it goes in reverse order. That's right.
Yeah, because if it denies from the bottom to the top. So I know what's important to you is getting the weekends off, is what seems important, but really what's important to you is getting these specific dates off in that order.
Yeah. Got it.
So you're
Makes
trying to
sense.
get as many days off as you can, weekends off as you can. But if you can't give it all the weekends, now you're saying in reverse order, give me those dates off from 2 a.m. to midnight.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
What kind of flying do you want to do now that you take your weekends off?
For me, I mean, I like 3-day trips.
Okay.
And I'd like to avoid any sort of wackle flying if possible.
All right, let's do your avoids first. So we might as well hit the red eye button. To give ourselves a secondary level of protection, what's the worst kind of red eye? What kind of red eye flying do you think is the least bad? If that makes sense.
Anything that gets any flying I do beyond 3 a.m. I'm worthless.
Okay.
So land by 2:45. So
let's do, we're avoiding red eye, we're adding another one. Let's avoid duty on, time range. I think there's a time exact button down here. Duty duration. Oh, I'm departing. Duty on, time. Here you go. Let's avoid being on duty at exactly 3 in the morning. We'll put that above the red eye. Try to avoid me all the pairing, the red eyes, but at least don't have me on duty at 3 a.m. Because at least to you, that means that worst case scenario, you have a 3:01 check-in, which means you're off the ground at like 4:01 at worst case. So it's not the worst red eye, or at least you're landing by 2:45 in the morning. So you're not
Okay.
in the sky at 3 a.m. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, and you like to be awarded pairing lengths that are 3 days. And what do you like on your 3-day trips? 3 or 4, or just 3 specifically?
3 or 4 is fine.
Well, what do you want? I mean, it's your bid.
Let's go
Exactly
3 days, and I like 3 days that have with efficiency. So
All right, 3 days, average daily credit, greater than. We're probably not going to get super efficient 3 days, but we might get a 7-hour one. Then we can go 6:45, 30, 15, 6, 5:45, 30, 15.
And we'll just end at 5 because you know you're gonna get it. All right. So we're preferring off all of those date ranges, all of those Saturdays, then the Sundays. We're trying to get all the weekends off. We're for sure don't want to be on duty at 3 a.m., but we'd really just like to not do the red eyes. Then we'd like 3-day trips that are worth 7 hours, then 6:45, 6:30 a day, 6:15 a day, 6 a day, 5:45 a day, 5:30 a day, 5:15. Then just any 3-day trip.
Yeah, and then I would fill it in with turns. What's
Okay.
left?
So then below that, award pairings. Let's go pairing length. Exactly 1 day. And we should shoot for efficiency, right?
Always.
Amen to that. 10, 9. And if you want to be more specific than this on your bid, you obviously can. I recommend it, but for now, we're just going fast. 7:45, 30, 15, 7, 6:45, 6:30, 6:15, 6. Then all right, here's a bid for you. Do you have something like this on your screen? I know I did that really fast, but whenever you're ready, see if you can follow along on that.
If you wanted to avoid some of these charters that have like 6 legs on them in a day, what's the best strategy there?
Good question. Let's think.
No golf course.
Yeah, you might not be wrong. Avoid pairings. Duty legs
Oh, there you
greater
go.
than, yeah.
Okay.
But this is going to be total duty. Oh yeah, no, that's duty legs. So that's not pairing legs. So duty legs greater than 4, greater than 3.
Yeah, I would say
Great.
4. 4 is about max brain capacity.
All right, so now we added a line in there, and you can order that wherever is important to you on your list of avoid pairings if you're doing like this.
How are you doing that? How are you sliding it up and down?
Sure, I'm using these up and down arrows.
Oh, there they are. Okay.
Oh.
You just click it. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Got it.
And then when you're ready, Nick, just submit your bid.
Done.
You got the 3 check marks?
I got 3.
Lay, you're up. What do you like?
Probably most weekends off and 2 to 3 day trips.
You got anything? Are you able to share your screen?
No, I can't. I'm on my iPad right now and I'm on my phone with the.
You got anything entered yet?
No, I don't. I've just been kind of watching. So.
All right, well, let's enter some stuff for you. What do you want first? What do you not like? That's always where we start.
Red eyes.
All right. Avoid pairings. Red eyes. And then what's the worst kind of red eye for you? If you had to do some red eye flying, what would you for sure not like to do?
Fly after 3 a.m.
All right. So let's find duty on, time, and range then between, you don't want to fly between 3 a.m. and like 4 a.m. or something like that?
Yeah.
Here, 3 a.m. to 4:59. Does that seem reasonable?
Yep.
All right, so this precludes avoid any duty if there's any duty between 3 to 4:59. And remember, denial mode is going to take that out first. So we want to flip these. So red eyes is below. All right, what else don't you like?
Laying over in Laughlin.
All right. Avoid pairings, layovers, stations. If what else?
That's no. I'd say anything over a 5-day trip.
Anything over a 5-day trip?
Yeah. So
I don't know
even
that we have any, but
if-
it's sure. But it's a
if
standing
something
bid, so what
gets-
the heck?
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, just in case a 6-day gets built. All right. What do you like?
Efficient turns. And
Do you remember how to do
2 to
this?
3 day trips.
So we're going to ask for pairings that are exactly 1 day. We're going to hit back. We're going to select average daily credit. And you've seen the waterfall extensively at this point, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm going to do it fast here, if you're cool with that.
yeah.
And not go as pedantic. So now we're asking for efficient flying. And then you want 2 days?
Yep.
What kind of 2 days do you like? Do you like efficiency? Do you like Caribbean layovers? What do you like?
Efficiency.
That's the name of the game around here. All right. Award you efficient turns and award you efficient 2 days. What else do you like if you can't get efficient 2 days?
I guess I can do 3 to 4 day trips. Doesn't really matter.
Do you have a preference on the two? If you're getting efficient trips, would you rather have an efficient 3-day or an efficient 4-day?
4 day.
Okay. Let's ask for exactly 4-day next. Average daily credit. We'll go again 9, 8, 7, 6. So now we're asking for the efficient 4 days. Do you have anything you like about like cadence of how you work? Like
Probably early morning. Get done
okay.
earlier, I'd say, in the day.
So we'd want to go back in probably and edit all of these lines to add that in there then. The other thing I was thinking more of, do you have anything like patterns? Do you need specific time off between trips? Are you okay doing like 5 days on with 1 day off? Do you want like 3 days off between all your stuff? 2 days
Probably 3
off?
days. Yeah, 2 to 3 days off.
Minimum days off in a row. So let's go, we'd like 3 days off in a row. And you'd like to try to avoid what kind of flying?
I try to avoid flying from 3 to 5 a.m.
Did you say early morning shows as well?
Yeah, early morning shows.
All right, pairing check-in time. What do you consider early morning to be?
Probably like 5, 6 a.m.
So let's avoid pairings of the check-in times before 6. All right, so what's the most important of this for all of you? Of these lines 5 or 6 through 11, what's the most important to least important?
Looking at it right now, I'd say that's probably Laughlin's probably the last important one. Yeah.
So remember, to get paid, you got to enter this bid as well.
Yeah.
You able to do that on your screen?
I will.
Following
yeah.
along?
Yeah, I will.
All right. So who's got
Awesome.
questions then? Because that's pretty much it.
So how did you switch the Laughlin one? How did you flip those?
Sure. I click on any line I want here, and I use these up and down arrows to just drag it around wherever I want it to go.
And that'll flip it. Oh, okay.
Yep. Any other questions? We can hang out here as long as you guys want. Otherwise, I've got 10 minutes worth of PowerPoints, and then you're free to go.
Who's gonna
Susie has-
benefit? Like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go for it,
Who do
Clay.
you think? What seniority is gonna benefit from PBS the most? You think? Obviously, the senior guys.
Seniority benefits from everything in the airline industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no situation in which seniority is not the thing that benefits the most. I think everyone benefits to an extent.
Yeah. Are you gonna see the most improvement from like the bottom end? Are their lines gonna improve a little bit with PBS, or the middle pack guys?
It's all going to be about how good at bidding everyone is and what's important to them. If somebody is junior bidding and just is really good at conflict bidding and doesn't mind their days off, but they just want to work as little as they can, line bidding is king. If you're a junior bidder and you have a family and you like need specific days off, your quality of life drastically improves under PBS. But it's all about what's important to you and in your life. There are a lot of people in every rank of seniority that are going to get a big quality of life improvement from PBS, and there's equally going to be a number of people that are going to take a quality of life hit from PBS. It's just kind of the way it is, because everyone's different of what's important to them.
John, is there going to be a time frame in which we can contact the PBS help desk while we're bidding? Is it anytime the waiting window's open, we just have a number to call or dart, or how's that going to work?
Just dart, but 24/7, 365. I mean, there'll always be somebody answering darts.
Okay.
But yeah, we have per the LOA contractually staffed PBS to help desk during bidding window, so darts should be answered pretty quickly.
If you're going for max days off, you'd want to go for minimum credit window. Is that correct?
Depends on if you're getting efficiency or not.
Yeah, I mean, you'd still be doing the efficiency as well further down, right?
Yeah, conceivably, if you hit the minimum credit window, you get the most days off.
And then
do you have to
only
click
goes so far down the list, right?
What was that, Chris?
It's not everybody can have min credit, right?
Correct. It's seniority based. So the system is trying to balance out because it needs to hit that average line value of, let's say, 85 hours. If everyone's super senior is asking for the minimum credit window and no one's asking for the max credit window, then eventually you have to stop giving the min credit window to people to drag the average line value back up to that mid 80s. If a bunch of people are equally asking for the min credit and the max credit, then you could probably let as many bidders as you want into both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's totally dependent on what bidding behavior is, which is no way to protect.
Right.
What's up, Nick?
If you don't select a min credit window or max credit window, it's just going to place
Put
you
you
in
into the
whatever
normal
one.
credit window. It'll only ever put you into the normal credit window if you don't select otherwise.
Which
And
is
the normal
both of them,
credit.
right?
No, the normal credit window is plus minus 7 hours from the average line value.
Right. But the min credit window would be the lower of the 3.5 out of that 7 hour window, right? Or
The min credit window says that you can be anywhere from the from the average line value down to 14 hours below it.
Oh, 14 hours below it.
Yep. And the max credit window says you can go from the average line value to plus 14. But the normal credit window is always plus minus 7.
Okay.
And unless you specifically asked to be in a different credit window, you'll be in the normal credit window.
So the max credit window, you can actually go above like the 88 if you click it.
Yep, because that's just an average line value. With an 88, you can go 88 to plus 14, so you can go to like 102.
Oh wow. Okay.
The 95-hour cap disappears under PBS.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay.
If you volunteer for it, right?
Yeah, if you select to be in there.
Can it force the max on someone who didn't click it?
Nope, you can never be forced into a credit window you didn't ask to be in.
And it will, if it can't award you in the max credit window, so if it can't build you anything above the average line value, it could
put you back into the normal credit.
Would it put you back in the normal credit, or would just start doing a denial mode in that window?
Yep, it would deny. Well, here, let me show you. You see my screen?
Yeah.
It would enter denial mode and it would see where that preference is to you. So like right here, if let's say the max credit window threshold is set for 100 hours and I'm at like 95 hours, so it needs to find more flying. The first thing it's going to do is deny Laughlin layovers and see if it can get me there. And it'll deny. Eventually it'll get to deny the max credit window. But if I think I don't want any of this stuff, I could rank the max credit window as my lowest thing. And the first thing it does is deny max credit window and says, now that I've denied the max credit window, oh, you're well into the normal credit window as is, so we're done. We don't need to do anything else. It's all about where I rank that preference for when it enters denial mode.
So if I prefer the max credit window, but I don't want to forego a lot of my
Then just put the
avoids.
max credit window as your very last thing. As your
Got
very
it.
bottom
Okay.
one, so that denial mode denies the max credit window first, and then it just completes your schedule. If you put max
Okay.
credit window at the top, you are saying the most important thing to me is getting this credit. So give me red eyes before you take credit away from me.
Okay, makes sense. What's your thoughts on the wave, the 1 in 7? I mean, is that something that you just think everyone should do if they want most max flexibility, or?
It's totally dependent on them. You'd have to put a gun to my head to get me to do it.
Okay, so
I
it's
not
it's
work.
not it's not a
I do
it's
not work more than 4 days in a row. Like I will work 5 days in a row if it's like a 3-day and 2 turns, or like turn 3-day turn. I'm willing to do that. But like outside of that, or turn 3-day, but I will not work a 5-day trip. 6-day trip is insanity to me.
Okay.
Like just my schedule this week, for the first time in forever, I'm actually working like more than 5 days in a row coming up, and like I'm dreading it. Like, yeah, here's my schedule coming up next week.
Thanks.
Oh,
But I'm like, it's a turn on Sunday, it's a red eye turn, and a 3-day. So I'm like, realistically, it's only 5 days of work. It's not that hard. But on paper, it's 6 days of work in a row. And I'm like, oh, already I'm like, oh, I got so greedy with open time, and it feels bad and it feels dirty. Already I'm like, oh, I don't know if I made a mistake here. I'm gonna hate this.
yeah, that red eye, that looks awful.
Yeah, I know. There's a
Are you
very
sure
good
you're
chance I
feeling,
come
are
down
you
with
sure
red
you're feeling
eye-itis.
well, John?
No, I have a bad case of red eye-itis, Nick. Hits me all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, might want to get some rest, get better.
Yeah. Amen.
I could forecast that.
Yeah.
No one's
All right.
forecasting anything here.
Right. Oops. All right. Well, if you guys want, I'll just finish up the PowerPoint, and then whoever wants to hang out and chat, talk more PBS is welcome to do. Otherwise, you guys can take off.
All right.
That work?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We talked about entering a FOLO bid. You should do it just because even if you're not going to be on reserve, if you pick up a reserve day from open time or giveaway, you want to have a FOLO bid enter in. If you don't enter in a FOLO bid, you're always defaulting to last out. So you really only need to enter in a FOLO bid if you're asking for first out.
Okay.
Pairing tab, sort filter function. Anyone have any questions on how that worked? It's pretty straightforward, I think. Just get in there and play around. It's neat. I touched on the analyzer tool for just a second. There's like a 5-minute long video on this thing. That's really useful if you go onto sca.alpa.org, PBS committees, and just watch the 5-minute analyzer video. It makes this make a whole lot more sense, but it pretty much just tells you how much have you filtered out and how much is able to be awarded. It does not know what a senior person wants. So just because it says that there are 10 trips that meet your criteria, it doesn't mean you're going to get those 10 trips. If you are at bottom of the seniority list and it says, hey, congratulations, you only need 6 trips to complete your schedule and there's 6 trips here, you may have found yourself in denial mode coming up. But the analyzer tool, if used properly, is a really, really cool feature. We touched on this a little bit. There's multiple ways to try to avoid red-eye flying. Here's multiple examples. You could say avoid pairings if they're on duty between 3 to 4:15 in the morning. Or like Nick, just don't be on duty at 3 in the morning. Or like the line 6 there is what I like, the avoid pairings if they're on duty for more than 6 hours, if it's more than a single leg, if you're on duty between 3 to 3:45 in the morning. Because when avoids are denied, they're wholly denied. So if you get the avoid any leg as a red eye denied, you're exposed to all the red eye flying unless you have some backups. The reasons report is pretty cool. When you get your schedule, if you're still logged in there below bids, you'll see that tab that says results. You guys won't see it yet because we haven't published any actual awards yet. It'll show you what your schedule was. And below that is the reason of why you got the schedule you got. And it just goes line through every bid line that you entered and what it did with that. So like line 1, pairing bid group, self-explanatory.
Line 2, prefer off between June 24 to June 26. Honored that. Great, you got it. Line 3, prefer off one weekend. You got it. Line 4, prefer off any duty if it's greater than 6 hours and you're on duty between 2:15 and 3:59 in the morning. Bad news, not honored. That tells us denial mode kicked in and denied that preference. Line 5, award pairings if the layovers in AFW. If you avoid layovers in AFW, honored that. Line 6, now we're asking for our awards. Award pairing if it's a turn. Well, if we go down here, 0 were awarded. There was 673 matching. Your running total is 1429. That means you started the month with 14 hours and 29 minutes of credit on your schedule. That number makes me think it's probably a carry-in pairing, but it could be some combination of carry-in pairings, vacation, and training as well. So why didn't we get any turns? Well, filtered by bid number 2, 66. Bid number 2 is prefer of June 24 to June 26. So right away, 66 turns got filtered out. The rest of them, 607, were awarded to senior pilots. Okay, so no turns. Line 7, award pairing if the pairing was a 2-day. You got one, you got M0715 on 621. Hey, there it is right there as well. So what do we know about that? One was awarded. There are 232 2 days, and that brought us up to 2129 credits so far. Filtered by bid number 2, again, prefer off 24, 26, 28. Items overlapping with something else, 1, that might be our carrying trip. Awarded to senior bidders, another 200 of them. Awarded for coverage awards, 2. We'll talk about what that means in a second. Anyone have any basic questions on that? We'll have a guide out of the reasons report when we start doing mock bidding to try to get people to do it. But the reasons report is really great for understanding why you got what you got and did my bid make sense. All right, a coverage award. In this example, we said 2 days are awarded for coverage. A coverage award is what's known in the industry as unstacking. You guys ever heard of the term unstacking with PBS before?
Mm-mm.
No. So think of this scenario. It's December. We are contractually allowed to leave some amount of trips open in open time every month. Would the airline rather have 30 open trips, one on every day of December, or 10 open trips all on Christmas? They'd probably prefer to have 30 open trips, one on every day, because you can cover that with a reserve. But 10 open trips on Christmas is probably really hard to cover with reserves and open time. So we call a big stack of open flying on a single day a stack. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
The system, as it's building, goes in and says, I've completed my run, and I noticed I had a big stack of open time that exceeded a bunch of contractual allowable provisions. And if you guys want to go into the PBS LOA, there's like paragraphs about what we define stacks in and how big they can be and on what dates they can be bigger and whatnot. So we're not going to get into today, but it says we have a contractually exceeded stack height somewhere. So the system says, all right, I'm going to start at the bottom of the seniority list and I need to cover 20 Christmas trips now or something. And it goes to the bottom of the seniority list and just starts assigning pilots to fly on those dates. And it unstacks upon you in reverse seniority order. It still tries to honor as many of your preferences as it can as it does it, but it unstacks upon you. So let's say that in this bid month, the 22nd is an unstacked date. And you can see that purple color means this is a coverage award. You got unstacked upon. The system's going to start and say, all right, I need to cover 20 trips on the 22nd. I'm going to start at the pilot 22nd or 20 to the bottom, and I'm going to make him fly on the 22nd, him or her. And it'll go through all of their avoids, all of their prefer offs, all of their set conditions, and see which one of the trips that I have available in my stack meets this person's flying priorities as best as I can. If you get lucky, they even want to fly the 22nd. It's still a coverage award, but it met every single one of their criteria. And you just start unstacking from there on to the bottom. If you're the last pilot in the seniority list, you literally get the leftovers, but that's, always true. If you are above 50% seniority, it is almost impossible to be unstacked upon. There are a whole bunch of Swiss cheese things have to get hit in right the perfect way, and the stars have to align ever so perfectly to get unstacked upon. It's very unlikely it'll happen to you ever, but it could if you're above 50% seniority. Any questions on unstacking from anyone? Nick?
Yeah, I think there's some other bennies if you actually get them stacked above 50, but just
There are, and we don't
just to,
get. I never get into
yeah,
the
no.
premium pay language in this one.
Yeah, but just to clarify something, you said that when the system is done running, it'll unstack, or does it unstack live as it's building?
How deep do you want me to get into the nuance?
Well, I just wanna, I'm curious. I guess I know it's technical, but I'm trying to understand if there's any
The
advantage
system
how you bid, but
starts
based
at
on how.
yeah, the system starts at most senior person, builds their line all the way to junior pilot. And once it goes from most senior to most junior pilot, it calls that a pass, and it does something like 500 passes before it finishes. It's like 500 possible combinations. So it goes through the first time with unstacking off, and then it sees where its stack was, and then it actually starts pushing the stack. It just unstacks in the middle of the bid group somewhere, and then it just keeps doing passes and passes, and it pushes the stack down until it gets to the junior pilot and then stops.
So it actually starts the unstacking in the middle. You said it starts in the middle of seniority.
It starts at the middle of the seniority, but it ends at the bottom because it does the complete solution. It says, where did I unstack upon? And it goes, oh, there were still junior people that weren't unstacked upon. Doing this again. Where did I go? Was there still junior people to be unstacked upon? Okay, start over, do it again. And it keeps pushing the stack down every single time.
Okay, that's the first time it was explained to me like that, but that makes more sense now.
Yeah, and I can get into the really nitty-gritties of it a while ago, but I legitimately would need to pull a whiteboard up. But next time you're in the Army
No,
building,
and
we can do that if you want.
I don't want that level of understanding. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to see if there's a way to gain it, but it
There
doesn't
really
sound
isn't.
like it. Yeah.
There's not really a good way to game the system in any way. It's been it's been in use since like 06, and there's worldwide, I think, like 120,000 bidders a month on this thing. Like, it's a pretty elaborate system. Every airline we've talked to say if you try to game it, you're gonna have a bad day.
Nope, understood.
Yeah. So, this is what you were talking about a second ago. This is the list of what adheres to midnight and what adheres to 2 a.m. to 2 a.m. Some of the stuff adheres to our Sun Country calendar day, some adheres to midnight. There's a whole bunch of drama and back and forth as to why this was, and if anyone ever wants to hear the drama, call me and I will happily tell you all the drama of how we got to this point. It is a good story. But the short version is some of NABLU adheres to midnight, some adheres to 2 a.m. to 2 a.m. There's a 10-page document on sc8@alpa.org, committees PBS. I call it a 10-page document, but it's got so many pictures in it, it's really like 2.5 pages. It's a quick read. It's worth your time if that 2 a.m. to 2 a.m. is a very big deal to you. I think to a lot of pilots here, it's not going to matter because pairing length matches. So a turn is still a turn, a 2-day is still a 2-day. But if you get nitty gritty into the system, by all means, go in there and read it. Questions, anyone? All right. Let's see here. Hey, Kyle, why is this a bad bid?
Because the green is not at the bottom.
Because your green is not at the bottom. Very good. Nick, why do we want the green at the bottom?
Because you want to pull from the pool before getting awarded things that you do want.
Good work. All right, you guys got the easy ones, which means Chris and Sue, and Clay, you're getting the hard one. All right, Chris, why do you think this is a bad bid?
Oh, I'm not sure. Minimum days off in a row, 0.
What do you think they were trying to do with this bid, if you had to guess? What do you think they wanted?
And they want the 7th through the 9th off.
Definitely want that. What else? What does line 61 make you think they're trying to do?
Yeah. So 12 days off in a row. And they really want it, right? You'd start another bid.
Yeah, so they want 12 days off in a row, which means they need to work 18 days in a row, right?
Yeah.
To hit to 30 days. Clay, do you think they're able to work? What wave do we need to work 18 days in a row?
Yeah, you got to waive that 1 and 7.
Waive
variance,
it.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you guys
Yeah.
see wave 1 and 7 on here anywhere?
No,
No,
So is it ever going to hit? So is 61 possible?
no.
no.
And what does it say on the end of line 61?
Yeah, go to
Or
the
I'll
next bid
start.
group.
Right next.
You see a
Yeah.
bid group below that bid group?
Nope.
So what's going to happen?
Yeah, they get leftovers.
Secondary line
Secondary
generation.
line.
SLG, whatever the system wants. Second condition and minimum days off in a row. I think the pilot thought they were waiving 1 and 7 with that, but that's just saying that you're allowing the system to put multiple reserve days in a row next to each other. And the system's like, yeah, I was going to do that no matter what. There was no world in which I was going to let you not have 2 days of reserve in a row next to each other. So thanks, Captain Obvious. So that's 60 was the wrong command. You wanted to waive. 61 isn't going to work, and it's going to I'll start you next into SLG. So it's a bad bid. Mock bidding. I'm going to just throw this out. Everyone, please participate. This is where you learn to bid. ALPA will be available the whole time to help you bid. If you look at the timeline here, bid opens on July 15th. So next week we start mock bidding, and we mock bid from the 15th to the 19th. ALPA runs the system and we'll have a bid award published no later than there. And then you have from the 22 to the 25th to dart, call, text, whatever you want, and we can work with you. ALPA will work with you to refine your bid for the next round. And then we immediately go back into round 2 of mock bidding on the 25th to the 29th. We start mock bidding again. Bid awards on the 31st. You can kind of see the timeline. Then we mock bid again in August. And by August 20th, we're done with mock bidding. We're going to do 2 months of March data to mock bid, and then we'll do 2 months of July data to mock bid. We're not going to use the current month, because if you use the current month, everyone just compares the current month to their PBS award and doesn't actually learn anything. They just go, oh, this is good, or oh, this is bad. The go live, if you've got October vacation, you'll have to participate in the vacation adjustment period. We'll put a lot of training information out about how to do that. Then starting September, real life training bidding, and we're actually going to have the actual bid for October in PBS. So bidding in September for October will be the first month we really use PBS to bid. Please, please, please participate in mock bidding. That's what makes everything better. Also, me as the admin who has to run the system, I don't know what pilot behavior is like right now with bids. So the more mock bids we get, the better I learn about where we should be setting thresholds to get you guys a schedule sooner.
Mhm.
You get paid 30 minutes of pay for every time you do a mock bid. So if you do all 4 of the mock bids, you get 2 hours of pay. PBS is going to determine your schedule for the rest of your time here, so it behooves y'all to learn it. And that's the class for today. Thanks all for coming. Who's got questions?
They
All right,
are
that
on
was
track
good.
for October.
Yep, we are on track for October.
Is this, when we go into mock bid, will we just use the same login and password, or how was
Yep.
that?
Same as what you did just now.
And then you guys like clear everything out before we do actual bidding?
We just move it over to the next month. Same as what we would do any month. We just treat it as though they're real bids.
Okay, but I'm saying once we get into August, end of August, like, will we go in and just like the system, like, are we now in the system? This is the actual system we're gonna
Yep,
use?
that's the actual system.
Okay, there's no more changes to it. So if I put a default bid in now, it'll
That's
stay
your
in
real
there.
default bid forever.
Okay,
Until you change it, that is your default bid for real life.
got it.
Anyone else?
Is all the vacation bidding gonna be done in Nav Blue then?
Vacation bidding will be done in an ELP app.
Okay.
Which we'll have some documentation on that soonish.
In the slide, so if I actually have vacation in October. And I have the second slot. So does that mean that, how do I know which week I'm gonna get? Because
During the
PBS is
vacation during the vacation adjustment period, you'll go into ELP and you will place your vacation wherever you want it.
Okay, now the slide, do I do it there or do I do it when I'm, like, if I, like, I want, I'll just be upfront. I have the second half, but I'm I'm on a vacation that starts at the end of the first half. So I can put it, what I'm hearing is I can put my vacation on the third week. And then can
Yep,
I slide it 2 days?
you can put your vacation as just like now. You can start your vacation as early as the 13th.
Okay, and that's with the 2 days of slide, right?
Yeah, that's with the 3-day slide.
And then I
Right now,
have those
for
two.
the end of this year, Nick, treat vacation just the same way as you do, except you're doing it before you bid, so there's no conflict. But you
Okay,
can, but
now
for the
those
purposes of this year, treat vacation just no difference. You don't have to
to
worry
get
about
to
the
the
week.
13th, if am I using those 2 additional days that you talked about
You could.
involved?
You don't need to. You
But
could
could
use
I
those in the other
do?
way. Yeah, you could start your vacation on the 13th and use the two vacation. Do you have 1 or 2 weeks?
I just have one, so
You
could
can
I
start
do
your
the
vacation on the
13th?
13th. Again, you could use 11, 12 as off G days.
Oh, cool. So then I could get my vacation to start as early as the 11th. That's what I was getting
Yeah.
at. That's
And again, I
perfect.
want
That's
to
exactly.
emphasize that technically your vacation is starting on the 13th. You just have off days before your vacation that you're
How
guaranteed.
do I do all of that then on the 22nd to the 25th, or is part of that
All
during
of
the
that
actual period?
happens during the vacation adjustment period on the 22nd to 25th of August. Yes. And we will have a
Okay.
whole lot of documentation out before. And you can call me and I'll walk you through it if there's any questions. We'll make
I'll
sure you
probably
get it
just
right.
do that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do is start my vacation on the 11th. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I thought I'd have to try to bid off days for that, but that's cool that we have the two invalid
Yeah, the
guaranteed
two
off
invalid
days.
days help a little bit.
So awesome. Well, no, good job, man. This is great. Thanks, John.
Yeah, you're welcome, Nick. All right,
Yep.
guys. Any other
Welcome.
questions? Thanks, Sue.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you, John.
All right, guys. Have a good one. You got any questions? By all means, just text me.
Sounds good.
All right.
Talk to y'all
Thanks,
later.
John.
Yep.